Ladies and gentlemen, today we are live and it is time for another edition of a live commentary stream on the channel. And today we have a double header at the Daytona International Speedway as Speed Week's coverage continues for today's action Saturday. It is Daytona 500 Eve. And we have two races for you this afternoon. First, starting off with the ARCA Series in the Daytona 200 today at the Daytona International Speedway right here on this stream. And then we will have a second stream later at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this evening for the NASCAR Xfinity Series Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. So we have a total of 500 miles of racing at Daytona today. We have 500 miles tomorrow as we finish off Speed Weeks, which has flown by over the last few days. Hard to believe this is the fourth stream already during the course of Speed Weeks on the channel. So appreciate you guys tuning in all Speed Weeks long. Appreciate you guys tuning in for the early going of this race today. And hopefully you're enjoying the start of your Saturday edition of Speed Weeks here at Daytona. I'm not obviously at Daytona this year. I will be at my house, hence the live commentary streams. But Fox Sports 1 carrying both races today. So if you're wondering what channel provider has the races, that would be it. And the coverage for the ARCA race is on right now. I'm not sure exactly when the scheduled drop of the green flag time is here, but it would have to be in the next probably 15 to 20 minutes if I had to imagine. So, again, appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already throughout the course of this weekend. Appreciate everybody tuning in throughout Speed Week so far. We just keep multiplying the numbers day by day on how many people keep tuning in, and I'm sure we'll have a lot tomorrow during the Daytona 500 as well, both new and returning viewers of the channel. So, appreciate it a ton. Patrick Shadley, the Dems 24. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Billy Kramer, NASCAR Cup Series 2311 Racing. Thanks for tuning in. Got defending Daytona 500 winner Austin Cindric in the booth with Phil Parsons and Jamie Little. 65 degrees is the temperature today at the Daytona International Speedway. That was about what it was last year for the Saturday before the Daytona 500, if I remember correctly. I remember it being pretty windy that day, and it was pretty windy here on this day as well. About 18 mile per hour winds. Not too much heavier than what it was yesterday, but about 20 degrees cooler. Wow. Ages 18 to 62 of the different ages of drivers today. 3 different countries: USA, Canada, Portugal. And only 2 former winners in the field of Jesse Love and Gus Dean. Nobody else in the field has won at Daytona. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't really know too many drivers in the ARCA field, so I'm going to be learning on the fly. I have the drivers list in front of me. We'll go through the starting lineup for this race. There are some names I do recognize. I'm sure a lot of people will, but as we get further down the list, I'm not going to know a lot of them. Some of them have already raced this weekend, some haven't. I guess before we get into that, we have an interview coming up with Frankie Muniz.
Script anything here at Daytona. How do you approach this race?
You know, I'm obviously so excited to be here. This literally is a dream come true. I've worked so hard to get here. I mean, it took 20 years, but we're here. And I'm emotional right now because I can't believe it's actually happening. You know, obviously there is so much that's out of your control in this race, but I just want to get a clean start, you know, get some laps under our belt. Get into a rhythm, get comfortable, and hopefully move towards the front. I wish we had a better qualifying position, but you know, we were really fast in practice, so I know we have a fast car, and we when we get up there, we can stay up there. So hopefully we'll get up there soon.
All of the opportunities that you've had off the track, some even on the racetrack, what made this the moment that you wanted to come and finally chase this dream?
You know, Daytona, like this is the pinnacle of motorsports, right? Like racing here, this is the Super Bowl, and you know, I've been here as a fan, and the fact that I'm about to start here is mind blowing. So I knew I wanted to come ARCA racing. I want to go NASCAR racing. I want to be in this world for a long time. You know what I mean? And this is hopefully just race one of many to come, and I don't know. I'm hungry for the win, you know, but we'll see what happens.
All right, he led practice. He qualified 16th. We'll see what happens today.
So, He does have some driving experience, just not necessarily within the lower series of NASCAR until today, making his first career ARCA Menards start. We'll go through the starting lineup, though, real quick. Pole time with a 49.396 in yesterday's qualifying action has Connor Mosack on the pole and the Mobil 1 Toyota. Jesse Lovell will have qualified on the front row as well, starting in second place today. Jason Kitzmiller and Ryan Huff will line up in row number 2. Row number 3 will be Andy... Oh, my gosh. I don't even know how to say that name. I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best here. And once I hear it once on the broadcast, I'll be good. Again, I do not know a lot of these guys in ARCA. But Andy... Man, I'm going to botch this. Jankowiak? I'm going to go with Jankowiak. Hopefully that's correct. Robbie Lyons, I remember him from the Truck Series. He has been one of the drivers in some backmarker trucks there over the years. He'll be starting on the outside of row 3. Greg Van Ulst and Scott Melton will be in row number 8. Logan Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of weird names here too. This is going to make it difficult. Again, usually tough names I'm good with. The problem is I don't know hardly any of these drivers. That's what makes it difficult. Missuraka, that's what I'm going to go with. Logan Missuraka and Gus Dean will be in row 5. I do know of Gus Dean. Also from the Truck Series. LeVar Scott, Tony Breidinger will end up being in row number 6. Christian Rose, Bryce Hogberg in row number 7. This is terrible. I don't think I've ever botched a starting lineup quite like this. I mean, I don't know these guys. This is what I signed up for, though. Dale Quarterly and Frankie Muniz will be in row number 8. I'm sure a lot of people will be watching him today. Natalie Decker is in the field in the 53 car. And we got Tim Richmond. We have a Tim Richmond in the 27 car. Those drivers will be in row number 9. Jason White, who was in last night's truck race, had a top 20. He'll be starting 19th today. Brayton Laster will be on the outside of him in row number 10. Willie Mullins and Hunter... This is just getting tough. Deschatelli, row number 11. I'm hoping these drivers, I hope they have a great day. I wish them all the best of luck, but I hope they're not towards the front of the field for me to botch their name at the end of this race. That is my fear right now. And those drivers are all going to be battling for the win. All 3 of the tough names in the field will be driving for the win at the end of this race, and I'm not going to know any of their names or how to say them. That's what I'm fearing right now. John Garrett and Steve Lewis Jr., welcome. Jesus, they're in row number 12. This is bad. Mandy Chick and Eric Cardell will end up being in row number 13 today. Brian Dozit, remember him from the Truck Series as well. He'll be on the inside of row 14. On his outside will be Tony Cosentino. Charles Buchanan and Ed Pompa will be in row 15. Row 16 will be Zach Herron and AJ Moyer. Brad Smith and Caleb Costner in row 17. Amber Belkeen and Jack Wood, who was in last night's truck race as well, will be starting pretty deep in the field. Row number 18, row 19, Cage Rogers, Miguel Comas, and Sean Core will round out the field in row 19. 39 entries for today's race. 18 rookies in the field. And because this is the season opener for ARCA, that means there are 18 drivers that have not ran an ARCA race, let alone at the Daytona International Speedway. So this is a lot of inexperience. Half the field has literally never raced at Daytona, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. Terry Lewis for Express, Matthew Dorter Bruno, Ice Team and King 92 Hammer, also welcome in the stream, Robert Goodwrench. At 25 people watching here, race has not started yet, but it'll be starting here in a little bit. And if you're just tuning in, you just watched me botch a couple of the drivers' names in the driver lineup. So I'm trying to find a live leaderboard. I'm hoping ARCA's website has something for us. I might have to research it up again because it doesn't look like this has got the accurate date on here. Let me try refreshing the page. I accept your cookies, ARCA Menards website. I mean, maybe when they get started. They have already given the command to fire engines. Should be rolling off a pit road at any given moment. And there they go. Yep, pace car will lead the field off of pit road. I don't think NASCAR's website has raw feed for ARCA races. They might, but I don't think they do. I have no predictions for who's going to win this race today, considering I don't know many drivers in the field. I'll just go with the pole sitter, Connor Mosack, just because I know of him. Gonna talk to Jesse Love here. Not me, but the Fox booth.
Well, Jesse, you just turned 18 in January. I know you've, tested here a couple times. What does it feel like now and these pace laps as you're getting ready to start your first time at Daytona?
Yeah, it's awesome. Obviously, just going to thank Yahoo and Toyota, everybody for helping make this Toyota Camry TRD fast today, and we have a really good shot at it. So just kind of waiting for my teammates to get on up here, and we should have a really good shot. So it's a lot of hard work has gone into getting us here. Just want to thank Trent and Tyler and Jack and everybody so much for the opportunity to be here, and obviously Billy Venturini, Shane Rush, and Tyler Mon, everybody that's putting in their hard work this week.
Hey Jesse, it's Austin Cindric. Look, I'm sure you've been waiting for this moment a long time. Got a lot of good experience, been kicking butt on the short tracks. 18 years old, you're ready to take on the super speedways. What are you looking forward to learning the most? What do you not know that you're looking forward to learn today?
Yeah, if you just want to stay on the radio the whole race and walk me through, that'd be great. But, no, I mean, obviously just watching people like you get it done here has helped me out a ton, doing my homework and knowing what to do. So I don't have to second guess anything today. And obviously Tyler Bond, how good he is, I'm confident in every aspect of the race today. So just looking forward to learning how to get to victory lane. Whoever that is, I'll go find my way there today.
Sounds great, Jesse. Good luck today. Sounds like you've done your homework.
Yep, thank you.
And Jesse Love starting second on the front row. And Jesse has 3 teammates. He mentioned it, but they are scattered throughout the starting field. And 2 of his teammates are women. We mentioned earlier there's 5 ladies in the field. That's the most since 2010. There they are. Amber Falcon, you remember her from last year. She ran a full season. She's starting in the back. Tony Breidinger is back as well, but Logan Misaraka really stands out to me, making her debut.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't know Logan Misaraka was a female in the field today, but congratulations for her making her ARCA debut. I honestly didn't know. Like I said, I don't know a lot of these drivers in ARCA. I never really watch ARCA. I'm going to be honest. I always try to watch this race in particular during Speed Weeks Daytona. I had a pre-race interview with Tony Breidinger. That is recorded and playing right now.
Potentially, also, you could go for your 6th consecutive win here with Venturini Motorsports. You could be the driver to get it done. So how do you mentally prepare to make history here today?
Yeah, I mean, no pressure, right? But, yeah, I mean, I know I have a fast FE Movement Toyota Camry. Billy Venturini and the whole team brought me a really fast car, and I know all my teammates are fast. So I think the biggest thing for me is making sure I get together with them. I think we'll be unstoppable.
Now you're starting 12th. You're actually right behind your teammate here in Gustine. Everybody makes a plan going into these races, and we know how quickly they can change. But what's the best case scenario for you here in these opening laps?
Yeah, I would say best case scenario is I just follow wherever Gus goes, and we just kind of team up and work our way to the front.
All right, Tony Breidinger, she is starting her 3rd race here at Daytona International Speedway, and maybe today could be 3rd time's a charm for her and her team as they chase history.
Thank you so much, Heather. And you see it there. The cars are on the track. The hard work from the off-season.
Fox going to a commercial break, and I'm sure the green flag will drop as soon as they come back. And we'll get this ARCA race underway. 200 miles, 80 laps, scheduled distance for this one. A little bit different rules in ARCA when it comes to overtime, so if we do end up getting to that situation, I will diagnose it then. But this race does have to end under green flag conditions, if I'm not mistaken. At least unless they change the rules during the offseason. But as of last year, it had to. So if we get into a situation where there's an overtime restart, it's just 1 lap. It's not 2 like you would see in the top 3 series of NASCAR. John David, thanks for tuning into the stream also. Who else we have here? I might have just tuned in. Sports Highlights every day, 1082. Thanks for tuning in. There are 39 drivers in the field. But yeah, the ARCA field definitely gets pretty spaced out. especially in recent years, very few cars that are actually fast on a competitive basis that are able to compete for the win, even on the super speedways. But you just never know what could happen in this race. It is Daytona after all. But knowing only 2 drivers in the field have won an ARCA race at Daytona before, we're more than likely to see a new winner at this racetrack in this series. 39, yep. Yeah, more than the Xfinity or the Truck Series field. So lap traffic will definitely be a factor assuming we get long enough green flag runs. I would not doubt that cars at the very back of the field would end up going a lap down after probably 15 laps or so. So it wouldn't take too long of a green flag run to have that. That is by far, though, I can't get... Just because I try to do this, you know, to hopefully have it as a profession someday and a full-time job of commentating races one way or another, I feel so terrible for myself having to get through that starting lineup. But I had to do it. I had to introduce you guys to the drivers as I was introducing myself going into it. That was pretty rough. I had only looked at the starting lineup like an hour before the start of this race, so there were some of the names I was trying to get through, and I was able to actually get through quite a few of them, but there was like 3 or 4 that I did not pronounce correctly, more than likely, and if I did pronounce them correctly, it was after having to sound it out a couple times, so that was pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. If it's too bad of a commentary, we may not do the ARCA race going forward. This is the only ARCA race I planned on doing anyway, and it was just because of the Speed Week at Daytona. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably would want to watch this race and probably can't with it being on Fox Sports 1, so I wanted to give you guys the coverage of it. But this is the only ARCA race we have planned to do this year, so I just got to get through 80 laps. This is the race I was most nervous for to commentate, not the Daytona 500 with I don't know how many people are going to show up tomorrow, but not the Daytona 500 specifically I was nervous about on the channel with it being the first one. I was more specifically nervous for this race knowing that I literally only know like maybe 6 drivers in the field. Don't have really any backstory on hardly anybody in this one, as I would have my 3 pages of notes for the rest of the weekend, statistically speaking, for the other series. But yeah, this one I'm most nervous about commentary-wise. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Brandon, thanks for tuning in. Will Arnett, also welcome into the stream. Pace car is on pit road right now. Connor Mosack will lead the field to the green flag. Will be the control car after qualifying on the pole yesterday afternoon. Green flag is in the air, and the ARCA Menards season is underway as they will start this 80-lap event at Daytona. Quick start for Mosack. No bump drafting going on at the front of the field. Already kind of spaced out throughout the top 10 very quickly. And very easily, Jesse Love from the outside lane was able to drop down to the bottom behind the 18. Venturini Motorsports has won 7 of the last 10 races at the Daytona International Speedway. We'll see if they can go to victory lane again today. Got to beat the Joe Gibbs Toyota of Mosack, though. It's going to be very difficult. About 5 or 6 cars on the outside lane from about the 5th row on back. Top 5 are single file on the bottom, but total in this lead pack, it looks like there's about a dozen cars on the inside lane. Taking control of things early and off the exit of turn 4, it looks like they'll be able to complete the opening lap of the race caution-free, and Mosack will lead the first lap of today's race. This leaderboard on ARCA's website, a little bit more different than the raw feed we would usually see for the actual NASCAR races. That's what I'm worried about, bump drafting. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these drivers would be too. Not really seeing any of the bump drafting in the early going of this race. Couple cars going down below the double yellow line, back straight away, and somebody gets ran into from behind, and that is likely going to cause our first caution of the day as the 45 car goes spinning at the back of the pack. Caution flag is out. There were 2 cars that went down below the yellow line of the back straightaway trying to avoid something that may have happened. And then I think the 45 got hit from behind when everybody started checking up. It's Tony Cosentino, age 34, from Mansfield, Ohio. That's not too far away from where I live. Right off the exit of turn 2. And there were a bunch of cars just trying to skate out of the way. And 45 got turned. He did not go all the way down to the inside wall. He'll be able to continue. Made a save on the back straightaway with the spin. Very fortunate to keep enough control of the car to at least not hit anything, so he'll be able to continue. But a lot of bottlenecking on the back straightaway. The 63 pulled out of line. I think he might have had some sort of a mechanical issue because he was well off the pace when he dropped below the double yellow line. But before he could get down there, that's what bottlenecked the inside up. There were probably like 4 cars pushing each other in a line before the 45 ended up getting turned somewhere behind that. So caution's out for the first time. Colton Schwartz, thanks for tuning in. Listen to Cindric's commentary of the situation there. Explaining how everybody probably was freaking out in that situation with them going probably faster in this pack than what they've been going all weekend in practice. It is pretty impressive, though, that the top 4 in points for ARCA last year are no longer in this series this year. Sammy Smith moving up to the Xfinity Series full-time with Joe Gibbs Racing, Raja Carruth full-time in the trucks, as well as Nick Sanchez and Daniel Dye, who we all saw make their season debut last night at Daytona. Unfortunately for Dye and Carruth, they were unable to make it to the finish, and Nick Sanchez ended up outside the top 20. Unfortunately, he was running 19th. After the rain red flag had come out, the second to last rain red flag, and then they lifted the red flag, ran under caution. He pitted to repair a little bit of damage, lost about 6 or 7 spots, and then they called the race before they could get back to green. So unfortunately, if they would have just called it before, he would have saved himself a little bit of points position-wise there. It'll be interesting to see what he could do for Kyle Busch Motorsports in that 2 truck. It's not an actual Kyle Busch Motorsports entry, but it's an affiliated team with them. So Tim Richmond started outside the top 15. He's already up to 12th. Same goes for Frankie Muniz in 11th now. They look to be the biggest movers. Jack Wood in the number 6 started very deep in the field. As well as, I don't know. I'm thinking Jack Wood might not have qualified in the number 6 because he was all the way back in the mid-30s starting position-wise. He was in the truck race yesterday for Kyle Busch Motorsports, so I wonder if that might have been the reason why he maybe couldn't qualify, because he started very deep in the field as a result of that. Cosentino is now a lap down after that spin. Not really much cleanup from that incident, so they should be back going green here very shortly. Dale Campbell, thanks for tuning in. You might have been in here for a little bit, but sorry for that. If I didn't shout you out before. Did they all continue? If you're talking about like from the incident, yeah, they should all be in the race still. No major damage really on anybody's car. Even when Cosentino got turned, it looked as if he didn't really get hit very hard from behind, so I don't think the car that hit him, which I couldn't even tell what number it was, to look at the driver lineup to tell you guys exactly who it was that hit him from the replay angles, but that car didn't seem to have much damage either. It was just kind of a clean turn when everybody started checking up for the 63 car that was trying to drop down below the yellow line. 62 rather. That would have been Steve Lewis Jr. Tried to get out of the way. I don't know if he was... I almost wonder if he was just trying to get out of the lead pack and go to the back, or if he had a mechanical issue, because he was well off the pace below the double yellow line as the field was rushing by him, and it was before he dropped out of line. So that's why I was thinking it was probably a mechanical issue, but he's still running and he's still on the lead lap. So now I'm starting to think, okay, maybe it wasn't a mechanical issue and he just was trying to get out of harm's way, but decided to lift out of the throttle before pulling down to the double yellow line, and that caused that stack up. Because if that's the case, that was all on him then. Still under commercial break for right now. Yeah, no stages at all, so just 80 straight laps to the finish. They'll probably have enough cautions as it is, so I don't think they need any extra stage breaks. Got over 50 people watching right now. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And about to head to the green flag. As the pace car is on pit road, Fox is back for the commercial break. And Mosak again on the inside. Double file restarts in ARCA. Green flag back in the air. A much even start between the inside and the outside lanes this time. Maybe a lot of the faster cars that didn't qualify particularly well are back out there. 45 leaving the pits right as the field gets back to green, so he'll lose another lap. Mosak on the inside, still side by side with Love, who is on the top lane right now. And then 2x2 for most of the field behind them off the exit of turn 2. 18 car gets a little bit loose, might have clipped the apron off the exit of turn 2 that time. And here comes the 97 with a big push from the 35 from behind. That's Van Alst pushing Kitts Miller. He'll back off going into the corner. Now the 20 of Jesse Love getting a push from behind by the 73. Lane changing going on behind those guys as well. One car ducks out of the top lane and then down to the bottom. Looked to be Natalie Decker in the 53, who has now worked her way into the top 15. Richmond now inside the top 10, moving into the 10th place position in the number 27 car. I think it's Jankowiak now that I'm looking at his name and trying to sound it out in my head instead of out loud this time. I still haven't heard his name on the broadcast yet from Jamie Little or anybody, so once I do, I'll have confirmation of that, but it looks like Jankowiak. Got to get used to it because he's in the top 5 right now, so don't want to mess anybody's name up here as we get further and further in this race. I don't want to do it at all, but let alone in that situation. Jack Wood already up about 18 positions from the start of the race. He's in the 18th spot in the number 6. He's probably going to be someone to look out for. One of the more experienced drivers, at least in stock car racing, that is in the field today. Osak's car seems to be dancing around quite a bit in the middle of the corner compared to the 20 who is on his outside. It got a major push from Jankowiak in the 73. It's still side-by-side racing 2x2 here. They were 3 wide further back, but I think that was because one car got hung out to dry on the outside lane with not a lot of help, and the rest of the field went down below them. There's pretty close to 20 cars in this lead pack that are all staying together right now, 2x2. Just hoping that nobody makes a mistake here in the early going, but we're seeing a lot of bump drafting towards the front of the field through the first probably 5 or 6 cars. First 3 cars that are on the inside and outside lane doing the brunt of the pushing, but not so many cars bump drafting in the middle of the pack. Melton gets a little loose in the 69 car in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Not sure if the 11 may have given him a push from behind or not, but he's able to hang on to it. His car seems to be a lot more skewed than everybody else's. Maybe more trimmed out for the speed side of things, which could affect the handling if he starts to get any sort of bump drafts. One of the older competitors in the field is Melton. A lot of back and forth going on right now between Mosak and Love. Every time they get to the start-finish line, one of those two drivers is leading by less than half a car length. Nobody really able to break even. One car gets sideways on the back straightaway in the 74, and they'll be put 3 wide middle now. About 3 cars going to that outside lane up near the wall, and that is being led by the 6 of Jack Wood. One of the Venturini Motorsport cars going up with him on the 15. Amber Balkan in that 15 car started deep in the field with Wood, probably following each other through the field, trying to get around a lot of the slower cars. But they are making some headway in that outside with just the 2 of them. Have to imagine that they both have a lot of speed. But I'm not sure how long they're going to be able to hold this, because they are starting to form a lot more cars into that 3rd lane behind Jack Wood. Seem to be losing a little bit of time in the straightaways, but in the corners, they seem to have good enough handling to actually make up a little bit of ground. They have 4 cars in the 3rd lane. Now they'll drop down to the middle as they started losing a little bit of ground in the middle of 3 and 4, leaving just 1 lone car on the outside that was not able to get down to the middle lane in time. So back to 2 lanes of traffic most of the way through the field, and the outside starting to lose a little bit more in the numbers side of things. The few extra cars moving down in the middle of the pack to the bottom through the tri-oval. Mosak continues to leave. Jesse Love no longer in 2nd place. He's still the lead car on the outside, but he's side by side with Van Als for 3rd. Got some trouble on the back straightaway. Debris shedding everywhere. One car is hard into the outside wall. That would be Scott Melton. Might have blown a tire or something there. Hard impact for Melton. Looked like he may have hit head on. Fire now coming out from underneath the race car. He's going to have to get out of there as soon as he can. Window net is down. 61-year-old Scott Melton into the outside wall in turns 3 and 4, bringing out our 2nd caution of the race. I don't think he's got any brakes or something, because he is not able to get that car to stop. He is trying to get out of it. Now it is stopped. Still sitting in the car. He had a bad crash at Talladega last year where he ended up breaking his leg. But he is back racing on another super speedway, and another hard impact for Melton on a super speedway in the last calendar year. This time just moments ago here at Daytona. So he got a push from behind by the 11 car, and that just turned him head on into the wall. So it wasn't a mechanical issue. Debris then was flying around behind him that drivers were trying to miss as Melton stayed against the outside wall. It did appear everybody was able to steer clear of not only the 69, but not run into each other at the same time. So Melton will be the first driver to retire from this race today. Qualified top 10, was running 4th in lane, make that 3rd in lane on the outside before compacting the outside wall. It's amazing how much debris was falling off the race car after he had hit the wall. Very hard impact. Both rear wheels came up off the back of the... off the ground. And he was the 3rd car in the outside lane, getting pushed by the 11 of Hogberg behind him. Almost similar to how Kyle Busch crashed in the dual race after getting pushed by Daniel Suarez on the back straightaway. The difference is these guys were side by side. He is furious right now. He is livid. But he does seem to be okay, which is a good sign. Your age jumping out would be a problem. Yeah, he was a little slow getting out of the car, but he seems to be okay. Other than mentally, he is very frustrated, but can't blame him. Had a good car. Qualified really well. He was hanging on in the lead pack and got turned. Middle of the back straightaway, bump draft gone wrong. Honestly, it looked very similar to the Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez wreck for those of you that are not able to watch this or are trying to visualize what may have happened if you've seen that wreck on replays. Maybe on YouTube or NASCAR.com, wherever you may have seen that over the last 48 hours. It looked very similar to that. only these guys were double file, and they were already on the outside lane. Not that that would have mattered much whether they were the inside or the outside. It's probably better they were on the outside, because if it would have been on the inside side by side, way more cars would have been collected. But luckily, it was only Melton who was really involved. And I'm sure all the drivers that were trying to miss the debris that was shedding going into turn 3 might have to pit to make sure they don't have a cut tire. But nobody else collected in the actual wreck itself. Connor Mosack continues to lead. He started on the pole. He's led practically every lap in this one. We don't really have the race statistics as far as who has led laps on ARCA's website compared to what we have on NASCAR's website with the raw feed, which is what I usually use for the leaderboard on these races. At least we have something. Wade, welcome into the stream. The race is on Fox Sports 1 if you're wondering how to actually watch it visually. Elijah Buddy Jenkins, thanks for tuning in also. Again, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. He'll feel that one tomorrow. Yeah, more than likely. The adrenaline from him being furious right now is definitely taking over. I'm not sure of the experience of Bryce Hogberg in the 11, so I don't know, how much inexperience may have played into that necessarily with bump drafting and not hitting him, square. Reason for maybe bump drafting that early in the race, middle of the pack. He's trying to really propel that line forward. I mean, you get the idea of what he was trying to do. It just, execution was not there. But that's the dangers of bump drafting. So when you're this early in a race and you're already at the front of the field, you just wonder how much is good. And if you don't have that experience to really know the wherewithal of, do I need to bump draft right now, or am I okay not bump drafting? Is this outside lane going to be able to hold up? Really don't know. Tommy H. Jurgen Jr., thanks for tuning in. Who will win the 500? Man, I'm still kind of leaning towards Logano. I haven't made my final decision yet, but I really like Joey Logano. I liked him in the dual race the other night. He proved me right. I was feeling Logano. When I was looking at the underdog side of things, I really like Austin Dillon coming into the week, but he doesn't look like he's got as fast of a car as Kyle Busch. And then Busch was probably, I was debating on Busch or Logano, but Busch wrecked before the end of his dual race, and now he's starting deeper in the field. I know that doesn't matter as much, but it does matter, and now he's in a backup car, and he said that it feels similar to the car he had, but you can't imagine that the backup car is 100% exactly the same as the primary car, and he really liked the primary car. But a confident Kyle Busch can be deadly, so it'll be interesting to see how he'll be able to get through the field. A lot of contact on the back straightaway behind those guys. I didn't even see that until just now. All the replays are showing. Frankie Muniz was actually the car that made contact further back. They were 3 wide. It is good to see Melton get out of the car, though. I remember watching that Talladega race in the break room at work last year. His facial expressions are funny to watch, I'm not going to lie. But outside of that, it is a tough break. Luckily, he is okay, though. Because I remember that crash. That was pretty scary. And he had to get... Anytime you see a driver getting stretchered off, that's not a good thing, but... Great recovery, though, to come back in the car, especially at his age. Definitely doesn't have any fear of getting back to racing at a super speedway. And mixing it up there towards the lead pack of the field, so... It looks like the red flag is actually being posted after this accident for the cleanup going on in turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4, sorry. So lap 15, we're under red flag. Old School Gamer Forever, also welcome into the stream. Frankie gets a good result today. His passion for racing, for sure. Sure, a lot of people are curious to see how he'll do throughout the course of the race today. Mark 63, thanks for tuning in. Jeff Bodine, worst crash at Daytona. Ever at Daytona. As far as what it looked like visually, worst crash. Obviously, outcome of it, glad he was okay. Really didn't suffer any major injuries from that wreck. Didn't he break his collarbone? I mean, I don't know exactly what, he had injury-wise, but obviously he was okay. He was awake by the time he got to the hospital, so that was good. Awake and alert. Jimmy Johnson will win the Daytona 500, then announce it. I was kind of thinking that literally last night when the truck race got over and I ended the stream for the commentary on that. And I was like, I wonder if Jimmy Johnson wins the 500 this year, does he run full-time? He doesn't have a charter, so he would have to qualify in if we have more than 40 entries at other racetracks throughout the course of the season. But you likely wouldn't have to run into that issue too many more times this year. I mean, maybe some of the road courses, he might have to qualify in on time because there's some international drivers that have been racing a lot in NASCAR over recent years. Those open entries on those races. Dirt Bristol, he might have to try to qualify in on time. So, I mean, there are some races he would probably have to still qualify in on time for. But, I mean, if he wins, he's in. I think if he wins, he should just retire. Just end it right there. You win the Daytona 500, quit. What else do you have to prove? I mean, you're already 7-time champ. Now you're a 3-time Daytona 500 champ. You have I mean, he already doesn't have anything left to prove, but if he wins the Daytona 500 tomorrow, I mean, you might as well just retire. Retire on top. He'd be the only driver, by my recollection, that could say, I won the Daytona 500 in my last ever start. I'd imagine when you get a feeling like that as a race driver, though, that you feel as if you might be able to do it again, and that's going to drive you to keep racing. So, I doubt that would be the case, right? I don't even... I mean, I'm trying to envision myself in that situation. If I was even not like a Jimmy Johnson caliber driver, but just to win the Daytona 500 later in my career, the will to keep going after that, you'd have to imagine be exponentially higher rather than lower, just because you get that feel of getting back into victory lane again after so long of not being in it. Kind of similar to what happened to Mark Martin in 2009, honestly. I mean, look at that. He took the ride initially to just get one more win, and then one win turned into 2 wins, turned into 3, turned into 4, and that one season contract turned into, a 3-year contract with Hendrick? So, it grabs your attention pretty quick. I could see something like that happening to Johnson if he were to win a race. But it'd have to be tomorrow, though, because he'd have to run the full schedule to be playoff eligible. So if he doesn't win tomorrow, we already know he's not running the following week no matter what. Well, maybe he is running at Auto Club. I don't know what all races he's running this year. That's kind of close for a home track to him, so maybe he does run that one. I have no clue. Got his first career win there, too, if I'm not mistaken. Still under red flag for cleanup after just a single car incident. Heavy impact, though, for Scott Milton. And, again, luckily he is okay. Got out of the race car. First crash of the day, but second incident. We had a spin from the 45 earlier on. Just a few laps in, so already 2 cautions in 15 laps. Dewey Christopher, thanks for tuning in. Allman ding 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 dinger. Not a bad pick. Rusty Wallace's barrel roll in the backstretch is the worst. It's definitely up there. Here is Scott Milton right now.
frustration in his body language. He's now been released from the infield care center. What do you make of the accident out on the racetrack?
It's absolutely stupid. It's insane. Lap 6, lap 7. What's the point? He hit me 3 times. First time he straight up. Second time a little bit in the right rear. Third time straight left rear. Excuse me. Third time straight in, hooked me and sent me in the wall. 6, 7 laps in. My crew has busted their butts for a year to put that car together, man. We've worked 4 years to get here, to be up front where we belong. We've finally got a car that's running, and somebody, lap 6, lap 7, I'm speechless.
We talked a lot about the youth versus the wisdom that's in the field today, and then for the season, really, with having that experience now out on the racetrack, what is the energy like out there?
Well, up front it's a little bit crazy, but I mean that's just the nature of the beast here. I mean there's so much air and things happen really fast, but you need to know how to not run people over. I'm very frustrated.
Thank you. Well, after that hard impact, I'm so glad to see Scott Melton walking under his own power and able to be frustrated, and you understand it. I mean, so much time, sweat, and tears went into building this race car. We'll step aside. More from Daytona.
I can tell by his reaction getting out of the car and just his facial expression before getting asked that question that he was just ready to light him up on the interview. So if you saw me smiling, that was probably why. I imagined something was going to come out of that. It wasn't full Kyle Busch, gone rogue, blasting a driver, but it was. He definitely called him out on it, and rightfully so. Steve Park crash at Pocono was pretty bad. Yeah, that was probably worse. Well, Davey Allison's wreck at Pocono, I'd probably say was the worst looking. Just flipping on the guardrail like that. At least when Park flipped, the guardrail folded, so there was less energy going into the wall. That was absorbed by the driver. Versus when you're on top of the guardrail flipping, I mean, he felt that. It did take Park out for a while, though. He couldn't even start the following year's Daytona 500. If I'm not... Oh, no, I have my wrecks mixed up. I think the Sonoma crash, he was out for a longer period of time. But definitely sustained some injuries there. Both drivers. Davey raced through it, though. That's incredible. Still winning races, too. Rafael Bueno Racing, thanks for tuning in. Greetings from Brazil. Crown jewels at minimum per his agreement. Yeah, it makes sense. Le Mans is the same weekend as Sonoma. He's already guaranteed to drive that race too. Yeah, he probably wouldn't do it. Sadler's at Pocono. Yeah, you got a fair point. And Pocono's had a lot of scary crashes in all sorts of motorsports, really. We just never got to see the full detail of that wreck. Sadler's very, very fortunate to not have sustained, life-threatening injuries from that wreck. This is a lot longer red flag than what I thought it was going to be for a single-car accident. That's one thing I've noticed with ARCA, too. There were cautions last year at Daytona where I remember I was sitting in the stands. I'm like, that wreck should not have taken 7-8 laps of cleanup. But they are lacking a lot of extra officials and track cleanup crew compared to other series in NASCAR. Got to queue up a driver right now. Looks like they're queuing up the 73 of Jankowiak.
You got a copy?
Yes, sir, Phil. How are you?
Good, buddy. That Wheeland car looks pretty fast today. You've been making some nice moves here. You got a plan? What's your plan? Are you running with anyone in particular?
We're trying to work real hard with the 20, see if we can get something going here. So we're going to see what happens. We were making a little bit of headway there, and hopefully we get hooked back up here to try to make it work. So I got my spotter, TJ Majors. He's kind of coaching me on the side draft and stuff, and everyone on my team's kind of helping me through it. So, yeah, we got a hot rod, man. Hoping to go to the front and be able to race for this thing at the US.
You know, guys, we joke about the fact that your day job is delivering pizzas, and Austin Cindric is up here with us, and he said if you win the race, will you make sure you get us some pizzas up to the booth?
Bob and John's is about 1,000 miles away, so it'd be a hefty tip.
Well, we can handle that. We can handle that. But you're doing a great job, buddy. Keep it going.
Thank you so much for everything you guys do. Hopefully I'm talking to you later.
One of the nicest guys as he sits sixth right now. 2 years ago, he came down here to Daytona, a wing and a prayer. He bought a car, got it ready, brought down his buddies, and he's like, we're going to run this race. I'm going to check it off my bucket list, and then we're going to sell the car. Well, he had a great run, and he got a lot of attention, and he ran multiple races that year, did the same last year, and here he is. I mean, TJ Majors is his sponsor. Like, he's upped his game.
Absolutely.
Let's check in with Heather DeBow. What are you hearing, Heather?
Well, Jamie, it's kind of interesting. I've been listening to a lot of conversation as we sit under this red flag, and one in particular was with the 74 of Mandy Chick. Now, Mandy, 21 years old right here. She is studying engineering in school. She's very smart, has a lot of stuff that's going on in her life, including being the president of Tri Delta Gamma Pi. Starting in April, she will take office of that, and she says she also has finals next week. But what I wanted to get to was the conversation on what their plan is when we go green. They said their plan is to tow in behind the 55 of Tony Breidinger to get to the front, and she also told her team, hey guys, I have a rocket ship, and they said, okay, well, if we make it happen, we're gonna get a tattoo on our butt today. So
what?
You guys wanted pizza.
Did I hear that right?
From Andy, but Austin, do you want to get a tattoo with her if she ends up in victory lane? What do you think?
I will take the pizza from Andy over the butt tattoo from Mandy, but I'm sure she's pretty smart going to Rose Home. My dad went there. It's not an easy school to get into, so hopefully she's having fun today and has a great result.
Not something that you expect to hear. I remember when Austin Dillon won this race, though. He and all of his buddies, the whole team, they got tattoos.
In the middle of the night, yeah.
Where she said.
Okay, well, she's got a fair point
right
there.
now,
I actually
Sean
forgot
Webb.
Austin Dillon did that after he won the Daytona 500. But, that's interesting, to say the least. I don't know how to transfer off of that to news. Oh, here we go. Biggest movers of the race so far. Jack Wood has gained 26 positions. Sean Cord, 25 positions gain. Amber Balkin, 23 positions gain. And then Cage Rogers has gained 12 spots from the start of the race. So 3 drivers have gained 20-plus spots. They all started very deep in the field. Again, curious to know if they actually qualified, because knowing their equipment, a couple of Venturini cars there, I'm actually kind of surprised that they started as deep in the field as they did. Currently, your top 10, as we're still under red flag conditions here. Definitely looks as if they're making some major track repairs. I don't know if they're trying to fix a safer barrier or what's going on right now, but they are doing some major work. Connor Mosack is currently your race leader. Jason Kitzmiller is in second. Greg Van Als in third. Jesse Love is fourth. Gus Dean is up to fifth. Andy Jankowiak in sixth. Ryan Huff in seventh. Bryce Hogberg in eighth. LeVar Scott is ninth. And then Jack Wood already up to 10th place. Tim Richmond is in 11th. Amber Balkin in 12th. Tony Breidinger in 13th. Sean Core 14th. Mandy Chick is 15th. Brayton Laster in 16th, Dale Quarterly 17th, Frankie Muniz is 18th, Willie Mullins 19th, and Robbie Lyons rounds out the top 20. Natalie Decker in 21st, Jason White in 22nd, Steve Lewis Jr. in 23rd, Eric Caudell in 24th, Cage Rogers in 25th, Brian Dozet in 26th, Ed Pompa 27th, Miguel Gomes in 28th, John Garrett 29th, 30th is Zach Herron, Caleb Costner in 31st, Logan Misaraka in 32nd. Brad Smith in 33rd. AJ Moyer is 34th. Charles Buchanan 35th. Christian Rose 36th. 37th. Tony Costantino, who spun, bringing out the first caution. He's still in the race, one lap down. Scott Milton just crashed out. He'll finish 38th today. And then 39th, Hunter Dischertelli will end up rounding out the field in 39th. He pulled out of the race. Was that a start park? Because it must have had to have been. He's been out. Actually, he might have been the driver that dropped down below. No, he wasn't the driver. I thought it was a 63. Logan Misaraka dropped out of line. Regardless of the fact he pulled off the track after just 4 laps, he'll end up finishing last today if he doesn't get back out there. Blaney Quinn, thanks for tuning in. Inside Uranus, welcome into the stream. Got 83 people watching. Red flag conditions, a lot of track work going on right now in turns 3 and 4 where that crash had taken place. I don't know if they were trying to... I mean, where the initial impact was... They had an initial impact into the wall where Melton hit. Wasn't quite into the corner yet. They were still in the back straightaway. But the crew, safety team, I should say, is going to work in the middle of turns 3 and 4. They were up like in the wall, basically, where the safety barrier was. I don't know if they're trying to get debris that may have fallen into the wall or what the case is there, but there's definitely some track work going on. Was not expecting a red flag, but it's a good thing they did have a red flag and not running under caution the entire time, knowing how long this is taking. But was definitely not expecting a red flag after that accident. Yeah, Frank Kimmel. Isn't he like a 7 or 8 time champion in ARCA? Blowing the Speedy Dry off now as well.
The Xfinity Series. And what are you looking at today?
I've never seen this before. I've never seen them tether themselves to the catch fence to try and clean the racetrack. I mean, that shows you how much banking there is at Daytona.
Well, we're told that they're having such a hard time getting the cleanup trucks up there, as we saw them sliding down the banking, that they're having to do it by hand. So obviously, they've had to do this before. So hats off to the cleanup crew. They're getting that kitty litter, that sand down there to absorb the oil. As the pit crews hang out and wait, we welcome you back inside. We're happy to have you. Gosh, all this waiting and anticipation, and now we have to sit here and wait for everybody, the pit crews. But what are they thinking? What do you do under a red flag condition?
Well, I think it gives, I keep coming back to the lack of experience. It gives a lot of these drivers, they just had as Scott alluded to in his very animated interview and exit of his race car, there's a lot of pushing and shoving going on early, and it gives everybody a time to really digest that and what they did, what they were able to do, what they would do better next time. And you're going to be able to use that time off to be able to do that. I really liked what I saw out of Jesse Love in the first couple laps, pulling side drafts, being able to lead the outside lane. Andy did a really great job, keeping him engaged with the front. So I'm excited to see how he evolves through the rest of the race.
How about Frankie Muniz, though? He was up on the chip there, and what that incident
he was in the middle. He was in the middle, as Austin said. I love that, but I think Connor Mosek obviously is doing exactly what he needs to do. Sat on the pole, he's staying against the double yellow line, doing a great job. But I'm really interested to see. We talked about the biggest movers. I'm really to see what Jack Wood can do when he gets up there, as well as Sean Corr and some of the others that had poor qualifying positions, starting positions. Once they make it to the front, how is that going to jumble up the field?
Yeah, and you've listened to a few interviews with Amber Balkan. She's one of the biggest movers as well, and she's pretty much followed the coattails of Jack Wood up to the front of the field. But in every single one of her interviews, she knows how fast her race car is. She's poised to take advantage of the opportunity, and I think you see that in her driving today.
Yeah, and I think she has a little bit more confidence, too, and obviously made a deal with Jack and said, hey, I want to go where you are. We're starting in the back. Let's work together and move forward. And I'm impressed with Jack Wood and what we've seen him, what he's done today so far. And the red flag, it's gone. The caution flag is coming out, so we will get back to racing here shortly. But we have 2 pit reporters down on pit road. Let's check in with Jamie Howe.
We talked about the diverse backgrounds in the field today. One of those, Dale Quarterly in the number 4. Yes, that Dale Quarterly, if you're a fan of two-wheel racing from back in the 90s, raced Superbikes. He was involved in a crash here back in 1995. Still has the scars from it. But you notice the odd look of the number placement, his name. You can see the DA, the space LE. So he actually purchased this car. This is an old Daniel Dye car. He ran the number 43. He has said he has better ways of spending his money. He didn't want to rewrap it, so he just took the 3 off, left the number 4, took out the extra letters in Daniel Dye to spell out Dale, but he's making the most of this opportunity today and just having fun, looking to move forward. Heather, so now...
If that isn't being a cheapskate, I don't know what is.
Here, her family and friends that were watching at home at their watch party just informed the team that we told them if they win, everybody's got to get a tattoo. So now the entire
Talk
team
about
is
that
on
tattoo
board.
again.
They're all going to end up at the tattoo parlor if that
Oh my
74 is in Victory Lane later today.
If I was on that team, I'd be talking myself out. I'm like, no way. You guys can go right ahead. I am good. Oh my gosh. In the moment, yeah, sure. It might seem like a good idea. Even in the moment for me, I know it wouldn't be a good idea. But some people, I mean, you're going to be looking back, I feel like someday, like, why did I get that right here? Like, couldn't you get it anywhere else on your body? Like, why would, I don't know. I don't make those decisions. Corvette Mode, thanks for tuning into the stream as well. Robert Perkle, welcome in. 10-time ARCA champ. Man, I didn't realize he won that many championships. I mean, I'm cool with drivers getting tattoos of winning, especially like in a situation. It's Daytona. Probably, dreamed of that. Just, the placement of it is. It's something. We are back under caution, by the way. No more red flag, as it has been lifted following a crash from Scott Milton, but he is okay. Checked and released from the Infield Care Center. You heard from him moments ago during that interview outside the Infield Care Center. Red flag looks to have been about 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Was not expecting that. I felt longer, honestly, but this is going to make our break in between streams a little bit shorter. With that red flag, hopefully we can get back to racing here shortly. We've only ran 15 laps, and we have had about an hour worth of streaming so far. So definitely looking to get more of this race clicked away here. I have a different ad playing in my ear than what I'm seeing on my TV right now, and it's a little bit confusing. I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be at here. I hope my TV's ahead of where my audio's at in my ear. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, we got a Sleep Number commercial going on there. Okay, so my ear's a little bit ahead. That was strange. I didn't even get that ad on TV. I had a different ad from what was playing in my ear versus on TV, and I have Fox Sports 1 on Hulu on both of them. It was throwing me off. I was thinking like I was behind or something. But then when they got back to the race, everything was right back to normal. It was synced up. That was strange. I've never had that before. Or at least I haven't noticed it before. Lap 18 right now.
Let's get an update on Gus. Heather?
Well, for Gus Dean in that 5th position, underneath that red flag after he shut off the race car, the team told him, do not shut off the car again and do not use low gear. Now, prior to that red flag, he was trying to shut the car off to save fuel, and he actually lost gauges. So he was having issues prior to. So now the team telling him, do not do that again. We cannot afford to have you have an issue here. Now, his crew chief, Kevin Reed Jr., he has a lot of confidence here in Gus Dean. He said he is our best shot to win our 6th consecutive race here as a team with Venturini Motorsports. Another thing he has on his side is this 55 car is the same car that Corey Heim won in 2021 and Harrison Burton in 2018, so they do have that chassis on their side.
Venturini Motorsports is so powerful that all 4 of their race cars that are on track today have all won at Daytona.
That's
It's a great stat.
It is.
Well, now you got 2 of them lined up together. Looking the way when the caution came out, with the 20 car leading the outside lane, he's not able to really move forward. But now he's got a drafting partner.
Some repairs being done there for Miguel Gomes in the 02.
Fox head into a commercial break here, again still under caution, and maybe when they come back we'll be back to racing once again. First ARCA race of the season, and our first race today, specifically out of 2, NASCAR Xfinity Series coverage right here on the channel. Will begin at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a separate stream. So once this race is over today, this stream will end, and then we'll have another stream later on this evening for that Xfinity race. My dog Fulton, thanks for tuning in. Welcome from Canada. Don't get this series, so thanks for the stream. Yeah, no problem. I don't usually stream this series, so hopefully if you're looking for more ways to watch ARCA going forward, this is the only time I am actually doing it this season. They won't have to worry about it. You saying they're not going to win? I'll tell you what, though, that post-race interview is going to be very worthy of a watch if she does get the win today. Ship station for you, and you were having an even different interview. Or commercial. I mean, I could see that from, like, house to house being different. But, it was just weird for me that literally what I had... I watched... So how I do these commentaries, I watch the race on TV, and then I have the audio playing in my ear. It's a little bit delayed, but not by much. I mean, it's delayed by like 3 or 4 seconds, so that way I don't hear what's going on before it actually happens in front of me. So that way I can give a more authentic reaction. But if there's some issues going on with some drivers, they queue up some of the pit reporters to give some updates. I will at least be able to hear it at least a few seconds after what is going on, and then I can play you guys the rest of it by unmuting my TV. So that's kind of how I do these live commentary streams. I have to be listening to it, because if I don't know what's going on, I can't relay you guys the messages or let you guys listen into whatever updates may be going on throughout the course of the race, which I know you guys would want to hear, and that's part of the actual race coverage. So I don't want to leave that out for you guys. Mike Sherritt, Robin Dunn, also welcome into the stream. Got 80 people watching right now. If you haven't hit subscribe, be sure to do so. 60% of viewers throughout the course of this week's coverage of Speed Weeks at Daytona with these live commentary streams are not subscribed. So definitely hit the subscribe button. And hit the like button as well. That also helps these streams out. Gets more people maybe aware of the channel, aware of these streams that are going on, so they could potentially watch whether they have the capability of being able to watch the races or not. Again, the race is on Fox Sports 1. Field has got the 1-to-go signal. They'll be going green this time, and I believe they're just getting into turns 1 and 2. So we got about 3/4 of a lap yet. We will have exactly 60 laps to go when we go green, as this caution has lasted over 10 laps, considering that they ran a couple and then they went under red flag. And since lifting the red flag, they've ran about another 5 laps under caution, giving the teams the ability to pit if they so choose. Everybody towards the front of the field have not pitted. It should be a one-stop race, I'd have to imagine. But a lot of drivers have not pit. We've only had a handful of laps ran under green flag, and 2 cautions so far. Talladega ARCA race, usually good. You should stream that. Potentially. Actually, no, I can't, because I'll be at Talladega when ARCA's there. Yeah, that one I can't do. There are select races that I am going to this season that I won't be able to do commentary for. But now that you mention that, no, I will be at Talladega, because they race there in the spring. I'm going to the spring Dega race. I'm not going to the fall race this year. Kind of been alternating when I go in the spring and fall every year, so I'll be at the spring race for Talladega this year. But then the races I do go to in person, I give you guys race highlight videos from the grandstand. So I do have some videos from at the track, give you guys a point of view of where I'm sitting and what it's like to experience a NASCAR race. Give like 20 to 30 minute highlight videos. Biggest moments of the race I'll upload individually as well. Green flag is back in the air at Daytona. 60 laps to go in the ARCA Menards Series race at the World Center of Racing. This start was a lot more like the initial start of the race, where the outside lane drivers didn't take off quite as well behind the leaders, leaving just a couple of them up there. At the 97 and the 20 on the outside lane. The 35 initially dropped to the bottom while restarting on the outside. That was Van Alls. And the numbers game is really, really fading in the outside. Couple drivers from the bottom now moving up all of a sudden, finding a hole, realizing that they have a chance to pass a couple other cars. But the problem is that the 20 of Love just moved down to the bottom as there were more cars moving up. And now there's a potential possibility that he may end up getting boxed in, and that is going to be the case. Jack Wood was one of the cars, that had moved into that outside lane with Sean Corr in front of him. Those two drivers started outside the top 30 today, and they are now inside the top 10, which is very impressive when you consider the fact that we've only had less than 10 green flag laps in today's race, and they've already been able to move that far through the field. Frankie Muniz has cracked the top 10 for the first time as well, as he's up to the 9th place position. Seems to be about the 5th car in line on the inside. Top 13 or 14 cars in the lead pack now all running 2 by 2 once again. After the initial start, they were not so side by side. Now it almost looks like more cars are moving into the outside than the inside lane, and the inside starting to lose the numbers. Mosak continues to lead as he led that lap at the line by inches over Kitts Miller. Van Alst moving into second place now. Back and forth go the 35 and the 97 cars. Mosak again was the pole sitter for Joe Gibbs Racing in the number 18. Made some Xfinity and truck starts last season on a part-time schedule, and I'd have to assume that that would be the same for him this year as well, but he will be running full-time at ARCA in the number 18. So, developing story on Gus Dean that you heard a little bit ago about the engine cutting in and out on him under caution. It is still doing that under green flag conditions as well. So, problem for Gus Dean arising right now. He is not in this lead pack anymore either, and just trying to hang on for dear life towards the back, hoping his car remains under power. That is one of the Venturini Motorsport cars. And maybe one of the favorites to win this race, one of only 2 drivers in the field that has won an ARCA race at Daytona. Dakota Rooser and Patrick Mahomes welcome in. Elimination Chamber. I'm excited to watch that tonight after the Xfinity race. I'll miss the start of it. I'll have to go back and rewatch it sometime tomorrow morning probably, but excited to see how the Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns match is going to go. It's going to be a lot of fun. For me as a wrestling fan. Maybe not for all of you guys, but for anybody watching, it'll be fun. Not as much bump drafting has gone on since that caution flag initially came out. But a lot of side-by-side racing still going on, so the aggression is there. Gus Dean is now pulled onto pit road, and they are going to top off with fuel here and go underneath the hood of that race car. No, not going underneath the hood of the car, but he's definitely topping off on fuel. "15 laps away from the halfway mark. Mosak continues to lead by about a car length on that inside lane. The 97 can't quite get to his outside over the last few laps. He's got a couple fast cars behind him, but they're not really pushing him to get that momentum surging forward. Being very patient is Sean Corr and Jack Wood, who are the 2 cars in the number 6 and 8 behind. The 97 of Kitts Miller. And now the push to Kitts Miller will be shot to the race lead into turns 3 and 4. And now he moves immediately down to the bottom in front of Mosak, and he's getting a little bit too far out ahead as he's about a full car length, maybe 2, in the lead off turn 4. Big runs now coming from behind. Nowhere to go for Mosak as he's boxed in with Corr on his outside in the number 8, and Kitts Miller will lead that lap at the line. One car jumping out of lane into the outside and trying to move out of the way in the number 42, Robbie Lyons. Only about 4 cars on the outside lane all of a sudden in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Once Kitts Miller got to the lead and moved down. Mosak bobbling quite a bit with the 35 car, pushing it from behind of Van Ulst. I think a lot of fans would probably be anti-Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania if Sammy doesn't win. I don't think he'd be the only one. Frankie Muniz moving into the outside. He's actually the third car in lane behind two of what could be the fastest cars in the field of Sean Corr and Jack Wood. We haven't seen those two lead any laps today with how deep they started in the field, but as quickly as they have risen through the pack, you'd have to imagine that they could be two drivers that would be tough to beat. Two drivers that have quite a bit of experience in this lack of experience ARCA field. Again, 18 rookies making the start in this race today. So I didn't even realize that was a rule, I guess, in ARCA, but you cannot fuel under green flag conditions. So when Gustine came down to get fuel only, he has been docked 2 laps as a result. So Gustine being penalized 2 laps for fueling under green. You cannot fuel under green in ARCA. 48 car dropping out of line down to the double yellow line into turn 1 as the field goes blowing past them. Lap 30 at the start-finish line this time by. A little bit more in the numbers on the outside lane from 4 cars to about 7. Sean Corr leading the outside in the number 80 side-by-side with Van Ulst in the 35 underneath him for about 3rd place. Top 2 cars into turns 1 and 2, which still gets Miller in the 97 leading with Mosak in 2nd in the number 18. Cars One Boy, welcome into the stream also. Corr is now pulled up alongside Mosak in the middle. In turns 3 and 4, Jack Wood gets loose and saves it on the outside lane. They're going to bottleneck 3 wide. Couple cars going into the middle. It was Muniz who was pushing the 6 of Wood. Muniz will have to drop back a couple positions, and he finds himself in the outside now, riding 5th in line. Very fortunate not to have a major issue go wrong there after Wood got loose off the exit of turn 4. And no crash. Good awareness by both those drivers that when they moved into the outside lane, they didn't completely try to come down to the bottom. They waited for their spotter to pull them clear. Wood actually didn't lose any positions. He's still 2nd in line on the outside, and Muniz is now back to around 10th and 5th in line in the outside lane. Lab car down on the bottom, moving off the inside just a little bit as the leaders are coming back around. He is not able to hold his lane very well. They're bottlenecking in the middle of the corner, and the 20 car goes around sideways. 1 car heads straight for the inside wall. Hard impact head on, and we're under caution for the 3rd time. The 27 car steered left to miss the 20, who spun off the exit of turn 4 after a lap car was not able to hold the bottom lane while the leaders were trying to get around them, and he hit hard. It's Tim Richmond in the 27 from Ottawa, Illinois. Safety team is there. That looked very similar to Danica Patrick's dual crash back in 2012? She hit into the inside retaining wall in the back straightaway, only this was off the exit of turn 4. But it was a very similar crash where it just completely crunched the right front of the car, ended up on 2 wheels spinning back. The 06 just moved way too much, and as he crowded the 20 got hit from behind by the 73, bounced off the lap car, lost control. The 27 missed the 20, steering head-on into the inside wall. It did not look like that car had slowed down a whole lot before impact. No other cars were collected, and luckily the 20 car, no real damage on him. Jesse Love in the 20. I guess he does have quite a bit of damage on the left front after getting into the lap car. Villanor, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that was all on the lap car, not holding his lane on the bottom. I mean, he was dancing all around in the middle of the corner. And he was so much slower than everybody else. Tough break for Jesse Love. He qualified outside of the front row. If he didn't get hit from behind, I think he probably had the 06 car who was a lap down missed. Side window flew off the race car, the 27, after the impact. And Tim Richmond in that car. So again, Camp Fuel car is under green. With this caution coming out, I'll be interested to see who potentially pits. We have a little less than 50 laps to go right now, and I would imagine they're still outside the fuel window. Under caution for the third time today, a vicious impact for Tim Richmond into the inside retaining wall. Second hard hit we've seen already today. It's actually the front tires that came up off the ground when he had spun following the impact initially with the inside wall. Just launched that car. Yeah, that lap car just... I thought it was going to be danger with everybody still side by side battling at the front of the field, and he was moving around a lot on that double yellow line. He was not holding that car very steadily at all, and ended up crowding the 20 a little bit, who happened to be at the then time 3 wide middle with the lapper on the bottom, and definitely got out of the gas and checked up as a result of the lap car crowding him, and then he got hit from behind by the 73 of Jankowiak. Matthew Dorter Bruno, thanks for tuning in. ARCA, one of the few things not able to watch live from Norway. Well, welcome in and come to the right channel for today, specifically. Again, this is the only ARCA race I plan on commentating, but because it is a part of Speed Weeks at Daytona, the biggest week of the stock car racing world, we are going to give you guys commentary for that here today. Just shy of the halfway mark. Again, our third caution of the race is out after a spin from the 20 of Jesse Love and a near miss by the 27 of Tim Richmond. But Richmond, after missing him, took a very vicious impact into the inside wall off the exit of turn 4. I think Richmond has gotten out of the car. Not going to confirm that yet, but I believe he had gotten out. That's 2 very vicious impacts we have seen already today. Scott Melton earlier, luckily he was okay. Lap car was trying to stay out of the way. It looked like he wasn't keeping control of his car. Yeah, I mean, obviously he didn't try to get in the way, but it is a different Tim Richmond. I don't think there's any relation. Because you would think if it was his son or something, it'd be Tim Richmond Jr. or the second. That's not the case. Quite a few cars on pit road right now, though.
Mixing up the strategy, perhaps, a little bit.
Yeah, this gets them in their window where they can make it now from here. Again, we were going to have a competition caution at around lap 40. But they will, however they came down pit road, they will leave pit road and restart this race in that same spot. So nothing really to lose. And they definitely can make it on fuel from here.
I think this also helps Jesse Love too, because that brake will come out, and if they didn't get their damage fixed now, they'll be able to get it fixed for the last 40 laps of the race.
I like that, though. You can fuel, you can put tires on as long as it's under caution, but now there's that decision to make. Do you come in at around lap 40?
And if there's something wrong with your car, it certainly gives you the option to come back in at lap 40. Still picking up some debris on the racetrack, but
let's take a look at today's Sioux Chief Fast Track driver, Jack Wood. There's his stats there. 22 years old from Loomis, California. Made the big move himself 2 years ago to Charlotte, North Carolina to live his dream. Ran in the ARCA Menard Series last year, and now he has moved up to the Truck Series part-time for KBM.
Yeah, he will be the anchor driver for KBM in that 51 truck. Obviously, we'll see Kyle Busch in that truck as well. He will run Las Vegas, will be his first attempt. Actually, he's going to run all 3 races at Las Vegas. He's going to drive for Kaulig in the Xfinity Series.
Yep, Kyle Busch will do triple duty, going back to the Xfinity Series out of retirement, as he called it. But Jack Wood, I can't imagine driving for somebody better, and Kyle Busch and being able to lean on him and get all of that knowledge.
So you heard it right there. There is a competition caution at the halfway mark. Give these teams an automatic chance to fuel, take tires. Again, you cannot take fuel under green flag conditions in ARCA, so there is a break at halfway. So there's no stage racing technically, but there is a break at the halfway mark to fuel the car. Now, I'm not sure if it's a red flag break or if it's just a standard caution. I honestly can't remember from watching ARCA last year. If I remember correctly, I thought there was a caution at about the halfway mark in the ARCA race last year when I was at Daytona, and that is why there wasn't another comp yellow. I think they just kind of ran it into it. You usually see that when there's competition cautions in NASCAR too, where, you know, that caution will be at like lap 23 or something like that, but the comp yellow is supposed to be at lap 25, so they end up just having that as the competition caution. American Citizen, thanks for tuning in. Brad Smith still in this race? I don't remember there being a Brad Smith on the driver lineup. Oh, yeah, he is. 48 car. Sorry for that. I don't know the ARCA field too well. If you couldn't tell already. I'm doing my best. You guys are saying I'm good at commentary. I appreciate that. This is probably the worst race I think I've ever done, commentary side of things. Just because I don't know probably 3/4 of the field's names, and I'm trying to match them up with the car number on the fly. I never really get the ability to watch ARCA. Brad Smith is in the 48s. He is 34th right now. He's not on the lead lap, though. He is 1 lap down. The 06 was A.J. Moyer, by the way, who had been put a lap down right as that caution came out and kind of caused the yellow by crowding some cars that were 3 wide that were trying to miss him on the inside. Caution making a whole bunch of unscheduled stages. Yeah, that's a fair point. They're just not getting points, that's all. Yeah, so 3 cautions at 35 laps so far. It's a good thing this race is only 200 miles. Could you imagine if this race was like 400? I don't know if there'd be any cars left at the end of a 400-mile ARCA race. At any track. Let alone a super speedway.
Jamie?
Sean Corr leading this race right now. His spotter just telling him, we need you to keep leading up until about that 40 lap mark. They have not come to pit road yet, but you see the front of that car. He had an accident in qualifying. They had to put a new nose on it, so there was a little bit of an unknown coming into this race, know how it was going to respond. You see that little piece of yellow tape right above that Chevy logo. They didn't have any more yellow vinyl, so they actually went down to Michael McDowell. They loaned him a piece of vinyl so he could get that stripe going all the way down the front end. But just a great story. This is his 14th year racing at Daytona, and he took a moment to reflect on it this morning. He said, this is pretty cool, you know. I remember back when we didn't have full fields here, and now I've got all of these kids wanting to chase the same dream that I am, so it's great to see him out front.
That's great. I like it. The leader right now, Cara's, well, he has a little bit of character,
Right.
but so far been clean today.
And his family owns a bus company in Long Island, or on Long Island. And there's times when he has to jump in a bus and drive a school bus.
I love that story. Hey, there's a school bus driver shortage. All of us who have kids know that.
And his mom will drive one as well.
And he jumps in and takes the kids to and from school. Love it. Now he's out here leading the ARCA Menard Series race.
Can't relate.
I know, Austin. You have a while. You just worry about you. Trust me. Your life
Count on
is
that.
gonna change forever.
You ain't count on that. Ooh, lights are down on pace car. We're racing again. I'm standing up.
All right, we are waiting for the field to line up properly.
How about the car in second place,
That's
Jamie?
exactly where I was going here. Christian Rose, a former Division I pitcher for the University of Maryland. His dream has always been to race, and he has gone in full force, changed teams. He's with AM Racing now, and it is showing. We talked to him this morning. He is jacked up. He's like 6'4", and he's out here now running a stock car and living the dream. Well, as they come out of turn 2, let's get a quick update with Heather.
And Tim Richmond released from the care center right now.
Good to see.
Big impact for you there. It looked like they kind of got bottled up in front of you. What happened from your perspective?
Yeah, a lot of aggressive driving. Looked like the 20 got turned. I haven't fully watched replay, but I knew I had cars to my outside, being on the inside lane there. So tried to get down, but just didn't work out for us.
Well, glad to see you're okay.
Yeah, I feel great. I feel terrible for my guys. They worked hard all weekend on this car, so hopefully get pieced back together and see a tail day again.
All right, tough break there for Tim Richmond, who's out early, guys.
Good attitude. Hate to see that happen. That car pretty much destroyed. Sean Core.
That's one thing with ARCA that we have seen and heard over the course of this telecast, is that there are a lot of interesting stories throughout the course of the field, how they got there. It's pretty cool, some of them. We've got a pizza delivery guy in this race. Got a former Division I pitcher. As somebody that wants to get a tattoo on their backside. Got an actor. It's a whole plethora of quite a few characters in this field today. Green flag is back in the air. Sean Core will be the leader on the restart, the number 8. Down on the inside lane. And the 32 of Christian Rose on the outside, getting pushed from the 97 of Kitts Miller into turn 1. They're at lap 38. So the competition yellow will leave here in a couple laps. Once every lead lap car crosses the start-finish line is when we'll receive the competition caution if we don't have a crash before then. Massive shot on the inside lane by the second and third cars down on the bottom. Got one car a bit loose, and that's going to stack up the inside a bit more. Rose gets a nice little bit of a run from Kitts Miller from behind in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Side drafts the 8 of Core down on the bottom, and they'll be side by side for the lead and 2x2 through the field off of turn 4. Christian Rose will lead his first lap of the race as he tries to clear to the bottom, and he might not be clear. Decides to go back to the outside at the last second. The really crowded Sean Core on the bottom, and now he'll be clear down to the bottom in turns 3 and 4. So Rose trying to control both lanes right now as he leads pretty close to the halfway mark. And the Menards 200. A push to the outside lane for the 15, Amber Balkan. Kitts Miller leading the outside lane now after Rose took the lead and moved down to the bottom. He's had a pretty fast car so far today. Jack Wood in the 6 on the inside lane has been kind of boxed in right behind Mosak. We are on lap 40. So the competition caution should be any given moment here. Side by side for the lead, still off the exit of turn 2. It'll be interesting to see who will be the leader at the time of the competition caution, because they are dead even into turn 3. Kitts Miller on the outside and Rose down low on the bottom. A lot of side-by-side racing going on, though, so far in today's race. They haven't really gotten as strung out as they would have thought they could have been. The outside lane getting another shove off the exit of turn 4. And Kitts Miller will have the lead. 35 also pulls clear of Rose down to the bottom. It's Van Alst as he gets to the inside lane. Sounds like we have a spin by the number 7. That will bring out a caution right at the halfway mark. 40 laps down, 40 laps still to go. So we were supposed to have the competition caution really any given moment. We end up having a spin off the exit of turn 4, which brings out the yellow anyway. Looks like it was actually closer to the tri-oval where that caution had taken place. Eric Caudell in the number 7. Bringing out our 5th caution of the day. So we're not actually going to... I mean, we'll have the comp yellow basically bleed into this caution, but all cautions have been for incidents so far. Excuse me, 4th caution, not the 5th. It's the 4th yellow of the day. Like he got a bump draft right in the middle of the tri-oval. He was already towards the back of this lead pack. Can't tell exactly who it was that pushed him, but a bump draft in the middle of the tri-oval. And then you combine that with the fact that this is the ARCA series. Probably not the best combination of things there. Jason Kitzmiller scored the race leader at the time of the caution. And these laps do count under the comp yellow, it appears, as well. But all these teams will be able to pit under caution flag conditions, which is the only time they could take fuel. This will allow everybody to be able to make it on fuel to the end of the race. There was only one scheduled stop. There were some drivers that pitted for fuel during the caution recent to this that may stay out during this caution period to then get their track position back. One of those drivers being the 20 of Jesse Love, who was involved in the spin during the 3rd caution. This is our 4th yellow, a little bit past the halfway mark. Hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, live commentary for tonight's NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Daytona. The Beef, it's What's for Dinner 300. A little less than 2 hours away from the start of our coverage for that one. 54 likes on this stream so far. Let's see if we can get to 100 by the end. And while we're under the comp yellow, we'll take our first break of the race today. When they come back, we'll be having some pit stops. Now, I'm not sure if these are actually live pit stops or if they restart based off of the running order at the time of the caution. I'm not sure how that works with ARCA exactly. Stu Isaac, thanks for tuning in. About the rain last night. Always rains in Florida in February. I think it just rains in Florida year-round. You're lucky to not have rain at some point throughout the course of a day. But yeah, it wasn't in the forecast, so that really stunk that ended up really happening. Rain shortened. A couple of different instances where we had stoppages for rain. At least they were able to get the race in at the very least. Even if they didn't make it all the way through. Because it would have been tough to condense it to today. They probably would have had to move it to Sunday. If they were going to have to move it. But they made their distance of getting at least halfway or at the end of stage 2, so they were able to call it. Got an extra hour's worth of content for the stream just because they were under red flag. for about an hour, and then they lifted the red flag, and while they were under caution, get ready to go green, it started raining again, and that ended up finally ending the race. Now, Zane Smith, the third most laps in the race yesterday? So, I mean, he was up there. One of the few drivers that was really up in the top 10 the entire race. Never moved back at all.
Christian Rose, we saw him leading that race there, and we just got a cool text message from his mom, somebody here that's a part of his team, saying that she was crying and in tears seeing her son lead the race, and his sister came in the room and she said, "Mom, what happened? Did he wreck?" And she said, "No, she's leading," and his sister just couldn't believe it. And you guys mentioned it, Christian Rose, he said this is the best race car he's ever had at a super speedway. This is the most comfortable he has felt. He came over the radio after leading, and he also said, "Guys, I have a rocket ship here. This is amazing." He is just so incredibly happy to have this opportunity right now.
I love the energy all around, Heather. I mean, that whole team. And you saw that beautiful paint scheme I was talking about, all the trees. I mean, what they can do with these paint schemes is just unreal. But yes, very exciting for Christian Rose. There it is. Led 2 laps so far today. We'll see if he can work his way back up as they continue working, giving him a little drink right there.
I love hearing those stories too. That's what makes this stuff so special, especially at this level when you're doing everything you can just to get here. And yeah, hear about mom crying. I mean, we're halfway through the race. I mean, let's go. Let's try and win this thing. I mean, Sean Corr's going to have to work his way back up to the front. We talked about biggest movers. He's going to have to do it again from staying out of that break. So interested to see how he and Christian progress through the field here.
Well, now that we're at the halftime in this race so far, reminder that you can vote starting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Head over to the ARCA Menard Series Twitter and Facebook pages at ARCA_racing, and you can vote on what moment you think was today's sweet move of the race. We've had some incredible saves so far. You guys have a favorite so far?
Well, I kind of like the one when Frankie was in the middle. Truthfully, that was a nice save. He got beat on from both sides, so that might be my early favorite.
Okay.
I think we're yet to see it. We've yet to see the sweet move of the race.
Yeah, I agree.
Coming up.
Something tells me, yes, exactly, that it's about to get better. And we've got trouble on pit road as you see other cars coming on down. Looks like that's the 7 of Eric Caudell. He's got some issues as they try to push him back to pit road. Remember, he had that issue. He spun all by himself.
Oh, that's good.
And it is right there.
Well, there you have it. The number 7 car stalling on pit road, pushing him back into the garage area. Currently should be back to green flag racing here shortly under commercial break once again. Watching the Daytona 200. Cars that are out of the race, assuming that Caudell will be out as well. Gus Dean having an electrical issue. Tim Richmond, hard impact, he's out. Ryan Huff out. Scott Melton had a hard crash, he's out. And I'm just going to call him Hunter. Hunter is out of the race too. So Caudell will also be out. So that'll be 6 drivers total who will have DNF from this race. Got a couple drivers 1 lap down of Brad Smith and AJ Moyer. With 31 cars still on the lead lap in this one. Jason Kitts-Miller is currently your race leader. Greg Van Alsten second. Amber Balkin in 3rd. LeVar Scott is 4th. Cage Rogers 5th. Jason White in 6th. Connor Mosack 7th. Jack Wood 8th. Dale Quarterly in 9th. And then Andy Jankowiak rounds out the top 10. Yeah, somebody mentioned if Dale Quarterly was that motorcycle racer back in the 90s or whatever. That is the case. I actually didn't know about that until they had a quick story on him earlier on in the event. So yeah, he did race on 2 wheels, I guess, for a long time. Frankie in the middle / Malcolm in the middle. Yeah, we're probably going to hear that a lot for anybody that's going to be watching ARCA races all season, because he is running the full season as far as I know. Stayed out of trouble today. Does have quite a bit of experience in stock car racing. I notice he has tried to bump draft a couple of times, so he has been aggressive. There have been a couple cars kind of bobbling around when he has done that. So hopefully he isn't going to be one of the drivers that may cause an incident. You can only hope for the best that that won't be the case. I mean, ideally, if they stay caution-free the rest of the race, I think it'd be the safest thing, obviously. And be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. A little less than 40 laps to go. It looks like we'll have about 35 laps left, assuming they go green this time by. And the Daytona 200 for the ARCA Menards Series season opener. Live commentary of tonight's NASCAR Xfinity Series race will start at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the channel. And then we will also be live for the Daytona 500 tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see if Austin Cindric can defend his Daytona 500 championship. And he's got a fast car. All three Penske cars looking really good. I would not be surprised if one of those three go to victory lane again this year. Green flag is going to be back in the air. Kitzmiller on the inside, Van Alst on the outside as they get going. Not separated on the initial restart this time compared to what we have seen. Jack Wood thought about pulling out of line 3 wide. Instead just stays on the outside lane behind the car in front of him of Jason White in the 44. One car moved off the top and down to the bottom. I believe it was the 4. 2x2 off the exit of turn 2 once again, as it's pretty tight at the front of the field. Outside lane a lot more coordinated than the bottom for right now. The 2 car of Scott has a big run. 35 car is going to get clear and into the lead going into turns 3 and 4. We've got 1 car around. It's Connor Mosack as he slides through the grass in turn 3. One of the favorites in the pole sitter today, Connor Mosack, having an issue. And he will have to go to the back. Doesn't look like there's any severe damage to that race car, thankfully. After that slide through the grass, very easy for the splitters to dig in, but that was not the case there for the 18. So both of the drivers who started on the front row today have been involved in an incident. Dale Quarterly had turned the 18 car around going into turn 3, trying to give him a bump draft. A wild ride through the grass. Took a hopper. All 4 tires came up off the ground and slammed back down at all 4. Hopefully the suspension is okay underneath the 18 car. Took a big bounce. Looked bigger from another angle, but definitely a wild ride nonetheless. Just very fortunate that splitter did not dig in. I am very shocked. I mean, it obviously might have dug in a little bit. You'd have to imagine there was some damage, but from the looks of it, it definitely is in pretty decent shape, and it'll be interesting to see if he can cut back through the field. But now he's going to be in the eye of the storm at the back trying to work himself forward with still over 30 cars on the lead lap. And now time is running out, obviously, because by the time we go green, we're probably going to have at or a little less than 30 laps to go. NASCAR off-roading style. No, I'm not live streaming the Elimination Chamber. I wasn't expecting this race to honestly go past 3:30, 4 o'clock, and it might do that. We're not going to have a long break in between streams today. I need to get something to eat in between streams. I can't go 5-6 hours without eating. I'm trying to. This is bulking season anyway, so I need to get something. I was hoping I'd have a little bit of a break in between. I'd have to imagine, though, if this race actually goes too long, the Xfinity race might not start at 5 like it's supposed to. Oh, this helmet. We've got a pizza helmet. I need to take a picture of this and show you guys. Hang on. Wait. This is crazy. We got a pizza helmet. Who's that? It was Laster, wasn't it? Yeah, Brayton Laster. And the 03 has a pizza helmet. It's not the pizza delivery guy, but he has a pizza helmet. Show you guys on stream real quick here. I had to take a picture of it and show everybody. He's got a pizza helmet. That's pretty cool. I want one. I don't even race. Making me a little hungry, I'm not going to lie. I was just talking about food a couple seconds ago, and then they started talking about Brayton Laster having a pizza helmet. Can't wait to see the highlights. If you're talking about the race commentary highlights, I don't know if you'll get any from this race. I didn't want to do any of the truck race yesterday because, I mean, there were a lot of laps ran under caution. I mean, I had good calls from what I thought of the wrecks that had taken place, but outside of the 3 accidents, there wasn't really anything else to upload with the race ending under caution like that and under rain. Not much of one what? A lot of work to only see half the race, kind of anticlimactic. Yeah. Don't try to eat the helmet. Pizza helmet, though, I'm down. That's the best thing I've seen today. Yeah, I do remember the Dale Jr. baseball helmet. That was pretty cool. Dale Jr.'s always had good racing attire. The skeleton gloves, baseball helmets. Jimmy Johnson always had some pretty cool looking helmets at times too. Some vintage ones. From what I remember. Daniel Suarez, too. He's always had some pretty good-looking helmets. Of current drivers. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Again, if you have not already, 58 likes on the stream. Our goal is 100. We'll see if we can get there before the end of the race. They will not be going green this time by. Field is still single file. We'll have 30 laps to go at the line. A single car spin involving pole sitter Connor Mosack in the 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing. He'll have to come from the back of the field. Not a lot of damage, so hopefully he can continue on. Greg Van Hulst will be the leader on the restart. LeVar Scott will be on the outside of the front row for this restart. I haven't realized this till just now on our leaderboard, but I think the asterisk next to a lot of these drivers' names, I think that's indicating they're a rookie. If I'm not mistaken. Because I'm looking at some of the drivers that I know, and they don't have the asterisk next to them, which tells me that the drivers that do have the asterisk are a lot of... Well, I don't know, because Jesse Love... Well, he's only 18, so he is a rookie. I've heard of him, but he is 18, so that would probably make sense for him. I know Frankie Muniz making his first start today. Yeah, because drivers like Brian Dozit, that I know, Robbie Lyons, Tony Breidinger, Jack Wood, Amber Balkin, Jason White, like those guys don't have the asterisk next to their name, Natalie Decker. So, I'm assuming the asterisk means they're a rookie on your screen here. ARCA's website is where I'm getting this leaderboard from for today, because NASCAR's website doesn't have the ARCA Live leaderboard. So unfortunately, I'm only able to show you the top 17. There's no really other race statistics outside of that you could see, unlike with the raw feeds on NASCAR's website when the top 3 series of NASCAR are racing. Army Train could eat a meal in 30 seconds flat. If I did that, I would probably have a heart attack or something. I cannot eat fast. I cannot eat fast. I get hiccups too easily. I would never be able to compete. Like, I could eat a lot. Competitive eating competitions, I could eat a lot, but if I'm timed, I'm done. I would probably die in the middle of that. Green flag back in the air. Van Alst will be the leader on the restart. Gets a good launch on the inside lane. 2 of LeVar Scott, not so much. Didn't get as good of a push from behind. Outside, a lot more coordinated, though, so he may get a run in the middle of turns 1 and 2 to potentially take the lead if the 35 doesn't try to pull up and block. Big gap between the 97 of Kitzmiller and Balkin and the 15 down on the bottom. And here comes Scott. Again, the top 4, a lot more coordinated on the outside, so here he has the run and is looking for the race lead on Van Alst down the back straightaway. 29 laps to go in the ARCA Menards Series opener in the Daytona 200 at the Daytona International Speedway. And now both the inside and outside lines starting to form up a lot more condensed than what they were initially on the restart through the first half of the lap. We'll complete this lap under green flag conditions. Your race leader at the start-finish line. Couldn't tell for sure. I think LeVar Scott led that lap. Be his first lap led of the race if it was. 44 of Jason White behind him. Really haven't talked about him much today. 20 car dropping out of the outside lane. He's now in the 3rd lane. He's got some damage from an earlier spin. Contact with the 06 car when the lapper was on the bottom. It was the same crash in which Tim Richmond hit hard into the inside wall off turn 4 right about the midway point. Jesse Love staying in that outside lane right now. He's boxed in 13th. Muniz back inside the top 10. He's the 5th car in line on the outside lane, and he does have the 20 car of Love right behind him. Love still showing a lot of speed. Looks to the outside. He doesn't have anybody behind him that would help him, though, so it's not worth going up there. And I'm almost wondering if he's taking a peek, hoping the 30 of Muniz is going to go with him, but he's not doing it, so Love will drop down to the bottom lane. The bad part about being down to the bottom is that's not somewhere you want to be if you're trying to be a driver making moves. You can get boxed in very easily if there are cars on the outside starting to form. Right now, there's only really 5 or 6 cars on the top, but if there's more, it's going to become a problem. Kitzmiller having an issue as he gets put 3 wide middle on the back straightaway. Got a lot of cars going down to the apron to try to make a pass. 1 car is on the apron into turn 3. Ford's back into traffic. Crowds the field. No wreck there. There is a tire rub, it looks like, on Kitzmiller's left front. He is smoking. So a tire rub on the 97 causing a lot of smoke from the back of his race car. We continue to stay green. Kitzmiller trying to get down to pit road. I'd have to imagine his left front's going flat. Tough break for him. He's been towards the top portion of the field this entire race so far. Meanwhile, Scott was able to clear the 35 of Van Alst and was able to pull down to the bottom, continues to lead. Kitzmiller, when he dropped back, really broke the lead pack up, and really there is only about 11 cars in this lead pack. Then about a half a second or more gap between where Kitzmiller is, and Kitzmiller did not pit that last time. He's still on the track in 12th. And caution flag is out now for the 6th time today. Debris in turn 1. Bringing out the caution. Piece of sheet metal laying there. Surprised Kitzmiller stayed on the track as long as he did. Maybe the spotter was telling him to stay out because there was debris on the track, but that left front tire definitely seemed to be going down. There's a little bit of damage around his left front fender where you can see that there's a potential tire rub, and the letters are rubbed off of the left front tire as well. But he was dropping straight backwards with that issue after running inside the top 5 this entire race. And a lot of the drivers that were up towards the front in the first half of the race are no longer up there. Kitzmiller now dropping back because of that flat left front tire. Jesse Love is back up to 10th place, but had an issue while he was in the top 5. And then also, of course, the pole sitter who spun while running third in lane on the bottom, bringing out the second to last caution of Connor Mosak is still pretty deep in the field right now as he is trying to find him on our leaderboard here. Mosak has worked his way up to 23rd. And again, there are 32 cars on the lead lap, so was able to get 9 spots back there on the restart after we had about 4 laps of green flag racing before that caution. Now, there were cars that were going down below the double yellow line to pass Kitts Miller. I don't know if they're going to get penalized or not. 55 was down to the apron entering turn 3, merged back in the middle of the corner, which caused a couple cars trying to miss into the outside to make a bunch of contact. That was Tony Breidinger, by the way, in the 55 car. And she has dropped back to 20th now. Wendy Smith, thanks for tuning in. There's so many race cars were taken out early in the 2021 500. Really like most of them on track for racing positions and at the win at the end. I think a lot of people would agree. So 24 laps to go right now. We'll take a quick rundown of the full field running order while we're under caution. I'd imagine this isn't the last yellow of the day, but you never know as we still have 24 laps to go. LeVar Scott is currently your race leader. Just 19 years of age, leading the race. And then the pizza delivery guy, Andy Jankowiak, is in second place. Greg Van Alsten third. Jason White fourth, and Frankie Muniz up to fifth place, rounding out the top 5 right now. Jack Wood recovers back to 6th. Amber Balkin has been running pretty good here lately. She is up to 7th. Dale Quarterly in 8th. Bryce Hochberg in 9th, and then Jesse Love again recovered to get back in the top 10 and is currently in the 10th place position. Brian Dozet in 11th. Willie Mullins in 12th. Sean Core in 13th. He's got a pretty fast car. Look out for him late. John Garrett in 14th. Cage Rogers in 15th, Robbie Lyons 16th, Logan Misaraka in 17th, Christian Rose 18th, Tony Breidinger back to 19th, and Miguel Gomes in 20th. Connor Mosak 21st, Caleb Costner 22nd, Steve Lewis Jr. 23rd, Jason Kitts Miller has dropped back to 24th. If he doesn't have too much damage, it'll be interesting to see if he can get moving forward here before the end. The guy with the pizza helmet, Brayton Lasters in 25th, Mandy Chick in 26th place. Make that 25th. Natalie Decker now 26th. Zach Heron in 27th. Tony Costino, who wrecked or spun and bringing out the very first caution of the day, is back in 28th. In the 45 car. Charles Buchanan in 29th. AJ Moyer in 30th. Brad Smith 31st. Kitts Miller now back to 32nd as he must have pitted again to try to repair damage. And Ed Pompa is the last driver on the lead lap. So Pompa is sitting backwards, trying to get up the banking of the racetrack and almost got stuck now. And he has damaged the splitter of his race car trying to do this under caution. So I don't know what's going on with Ed Pompa here, but he was backwards under caution. So Pompa had spun under caution and ended up on the apron of the racetrack, was trying to get back onto the banking in the middle of the corner, and ended up damaging the splitter of his race car in the process of doing so. He should have just tried to drive back around to the straightaway. I don't know why he didn't just drive back to the front stretch before trying to get back onto the racetrack instead of trying to... He was trying to climb the banking with no momentum. I don't know. And this was after spinning under caution nonetheless. So major lapse of judgment there. I've had my brain turned off before. Never can I remember my brain turning off in the middle of a race before. I've never raced at Daytona, but I'd like to think I would have not made a move like that before. Only in ARCA you would see stuff like this happening. Pretty quick cleanup for this caution, though. So, looks like we are going to be going green this time by. We'll have 22 laps to go. LeVar Scott will be the control car on the restart. And Andy Jankowiak will be on the outside of the front row in second. He is, honestly, him and Greg Van Olst are probably the last drivers that have actually been in the top 10 this entire race that are up there right now. Muniz and Jack Wood have done pretty good, but they started deeper in the field. Took a little bit to get up inside the top 10. I've been running there for a while since getting there. Green flag back in the air. 33 cars still on the lead lap. So a lot could happen here in these final 22 laps to decide the finish of the race. Good to see, even with all these cautions, a lot of cars still running. A lot of single car and really two car accidents so far. And a lot of them still able to continue following the accidents. Inside lane, more coordinated than the outside this time around as they reach the back straightaway and now heading into turn 3. 2 by 2 all the way through the field once again, as we've seen a lot of side-by-side racing. Field has not really gotten as spaced apart as you would usually see in recent years in the super speedway races in the ARCA Menard series. 73 backing up just a little bit. The 4 of Dale Quarterly on that outside lane trying to give Jankowiak a push. And that's actually the 44, not the 4, sorry. Jason White in the 44 trying to give a push. Quarterly is in the top 10, though. He's the 5th car in line on the inside. Scott staying on the bottom lane, not willing to block the outside right now. 21 laps to go off the exit of turn 2. Some drivers further back that are boxed in. Staying side by side. Nobody making any 3-wide moves so far. Into turns 3 and 4. Amber Balkan getting a little loose off the exit of turn 4. And I think Jankowiak got turned all of a sudden. A lot of contact, and now there's debris flapping all over the place. And that is likely going to bring out a caution. Middle of the tri-oval, 3 wide now, heading towards turn 1. Jason White on the outside. And there is a tire rub on the 73 of Jankowiak, who has had a great performance so far. Smoke pouring out of the back of the car. And the caution flag is out for the 7th time. A lot of damage on Jankowiak's 73 car. Rear bumper cover came off the race car following contact after the 15 of Amber Balkan got loose off the exit of turn 4. Made contact. Somehow nobody went around there. It's almost like when she made contact, it straightened her car back out. And somehow the 73 was able to hang on following that, but has a lot of damage on the left front fender. And then the rear bumper cover off the back of the race car came off in the middle of the tri-oval and causes a debris caution to come out. Contact with Van Olst on the inside from the 73 car of Jankowiak, which is where the damage on the left front fender came from. There were some drivers that were running over that rear bumper cover in the middle of the tri-oval as well. May have to pit the back of the pack. It is really tough to tell exactly how this all went down, other than the fact that it looked like the 15 was a little loose, and then she stayed in the gas, and then once she made contact with the back of Muniz, trying to give a bump draft off, that's when she really lost control of the car and made the contact with Jankowiak to her outside. Another debris caution, though. But a lot of damage on Jankowiak's back bumper. Likely going to take him out of contention of winning this race. Caution is pretty good, though, for Connor Mosak, who hasn't picked up too many positions since his spin. He's only up to 19th, but going to bunch the field back up again. The problem is he's running out of laps as they're being ran under caution. Matt Hunter, welcome into the stream. ARCA, amateurs repeatedly causing cautions or accidents. MRN light. Appreciate that.
Let's get an update on Andy J. Jane?
Well, unfortunately, he is making his way down pit lane because of the bumper missing from the tail of that car. And they were really looking at the tires. The smoke that we saw right after that contact was just some tire rub. But he said everything felt fine. But while they're coming down pit lane, they are going to go ahead and change that left rear, send him back out there. He doesn't want to go a lap down, so it's going to be a quick adjustment.
They'll work on the 73. You also see the 30 of Frankie Muniz is on pit road. Just pulled into his pit box. You mentioned there may have been some contact there with him and Andy J. They got the Barabon tape out, so certainly going to tape up. We can't see it really from here. Maybe it was.
I think that right front damage there.
Oh,
You
there
see
it
it right
is.
there, and I think that's where he made
Got a
contact.
hole in
I
the
think
nose
with
there,
Andy
right where the ARC official's standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there at right above the headlight.
Yeah.
That's going to be
They need to
really
tape
tough.
that up. It's so critical aero-wise.
It's really soft now too, so it's probably going to cause a tire rub. So it's probably the right move to call him in, but you hate to give up that much track position. He was in such a good spot with only 17 laps to go, but you never know what's going to happen. But it's still a lot of cars left in this race too.
So tough break there for Frankie Muniz. He is on pit road with some damage to the right front fender after he had made contact with the 73 as well. And I think that's what ripped the rear bumper cover off the back of Jen Kowiak's race car. Muniz is just kind of an innocent bystander down on the bottom with everybody kind of losing control around him. Really no major damage on anybody else's car, but it was enough there, as you heard from Austin Cindric and Phil Parsons in the booth, that there was more than likely going to cause a tire rub. So safe bet was to bring him in. Not completely over, but it's going to be tough for these guys to get back to the front. It's a shame that a lot of these drivers that have been up towards the front with fast cars are having these issues that they're having to go back. They've all been pretty much single car incidents. We haven't had the big one, and we would have to hope that we don't get it, but with this many cars still on the lead lap, and it is the ARCA series, and with all the cautions we have seen without having the big wreck, I just have a bad feeling about what's going to happen here in these final 17 laps. Michael Hallett, thanks for tuning in also. Got about 80 people watching. We'll take our final ad break here, and then we will move on to the finish of today's race. Our first race of our doubleheader. Again, Xfinity Series action will be coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the channel. That will be a separate live stream later on today. Yeah, Frankie will be able to continue. It's just a bad circumstance where he's having to give up a lot of track position, though. LeVar Scott continues to lead under the caution. Jason White in second. Those two drivers will be on the front row for this next restart. I don't know if LeVar Scott has made any ARCA starts before this, but he is a rookie for the season, so he definitely doesn't have much under his belt coming into this race. He stayed out of trouble in this one. He's been one of the few drivers really to keep his car completely clean in this race. Green flag is back in the air. 16 laps to go in the Daytona 200 for the ARCA Menard Series. Jason White immediately pulled to the bottom lane. Or, sorry, no, he did not. He actually stayed on the outside, fell back. It was I don't know if it was the 20. Yeah, it was the 20 because he restarted in 8th. Jesse Love moved to the bottom as soon as he could. Jack Wood also did, and now he's on the inside lane. Van Alst in second. Jason White getting a second surge of momentum on the back straightaway after a push from Dale Quarterly. And he'll pull back to the outside of the 2 of LeVar Scott for the race lead. Side by side for the lead off of turn 4. More cars forming into the outside lane behind the top 3 that are already there. A lot of bump drafting going on as Quarterly pushes Jason White out in front. I believe that is the first lap Jason White has led today. 15 laps to go as the field enters turns 1 and 2. White moves down to the bottom as soon as he pulls clear of the 2 of Scott. Quarterly on the outside now trying to lead the charge. Amber Balkin in the 15 right behind him. Balkin getting a big run on the back straightaway, trying to pull closer. Scott getting pushed by the 35 car down to the bottom lane of Van Alst. Nowhere to really go for the 2. He's going to maybe get out of the gas as he gets the push. Contact down on the bottom. Balkin and Wood get together in the middle of turns 3 and 4. They're 3 wide and falling backwards. Major stack up behind him as they're all of a sudden 3 by 3. Off the exit of turn 4, one car bounces off the wall behind Balkin. That's the number 3. He's going to lose a lot of momentum. Everybody getting by to the inside behind them as we continue to stay green. 14 laps to go. Balkin with a lot of damage to the right side of her race car after pancaking the outside wall when the 6 car got into her from underneath. Not sure exactly who started the contact. So it looked like Balkin turned down right into the side of the 6 going into turn 3. Whether she got loose or not, she definitely made a drastic move, turned down into the left side. Or I guess the right side of Wood's car. And Jack Wood definitely held his line. Quite a bit of damage to both sides of the race car for Balkin. A lot of the lettering rubbed off the left side, so hopefully all of her tires can stay up and make it to the end of this race. That has broken up the lead pack by quite a wide margin right now. 2 by 2 in that second group, pretty much all the way deep in the field, but it is just a 5-car breakaway at the front. Jason White leads the race. LeVar Scott second. Van Alst in third. Dale Quarterly in fourth, and then Love is in 5th. Lyons trying to cling on to that top 5. He is in 6th, about 0.3 of a second behind Jesse Love. And Connor Mosack, who spun earlier, got through all of that carnage in the middle of the tri-oval a lap and a half ago. He is up to 7th and trying to lead that second group to the front, but he doesn't have a lot of help as of right now. But if they can get organized, we definitely know Mosack's got a fast enough car to try to get these guys up here. Balkin is just struggling with that race car right now as she got loose again off the exit of turn 4. She's running in line on the outside behind Jack Wood. She's kind of hanging on for dear life. White-knuckling that steering wheel right now, I'd have to imagine. Frankie Muniz trying to move himself forward in that second group as well. Somebody just ran over a piece of debris off the exit of turn 2, it appeared. And one car is sideways now on the back straightaway after getting pushed from behind, but hangs on to the race car. Lane change from the bottom to the top for Sean Corr in the 8 as he is going to try to drop in line behind Jack Wood. Those two have worked together for a large portion of today's race. They both started at the rear outside the top 30. They both moved themselves inside the top 5. Wood going to move back up in front of him, try to get a draft off of Mosack. If they could get to the 18, I do think that second group will catch the leaders. Mosack, Wood, and Corr have a lot of fast cars. Balkin trying to stay in it behind those drivers despite all the damage to both sides of the car. She is hanging on barely. And it is now kind of a 4-car group trying to catch a 5-car group at the very front of the field while everybody else from 9th on back is still battling side by side for position. Jason White continues to lead. We'll have 10 laps to go this time by. A lot of dancing going around by those cars side by side further back. Mosack with a big run and help from the 6 of Jack Wood is going to move to the outside of the 20 of Jesse Love. but only 2 cars is probably not going to be fast enough to get past all those cars that are on the inside, 5 of them to be exact. Sean Corr and Amber Balkin were not able to keep up, but it does look like that second group, despite going side by side, starting to catch up since the 18 moved to the outside of Little, and with them side by side, they're losing the top 4 who stay single file down on the bottom lane near the double yellow line. As we get more cars catching up to this lead pack, as it's slowly becoming the case, Amber Balkin with a major run on the back straightaway, stays in the throttle, stays behind the 6 car of Wood, maybe moves down to the bottom now. 9 laps to go at the start-finish line, this time by top 20, separated by just 2.3 seconds. All in one giant pack, battling for the win. Mosak side drafting the 20 once again. 4 cars single file on the bottom, but Mosak, trying to recover after a spin in the grass in the second half of this race, has fought through the field, kept his car clean outside of all the contact that has happened in front of him, gets a push on the back straightaway now from Jack Wood in the 6. Mosak now to the outside of Dale Quarterly in 4th into turns 3 and 4. So he's slowly working himself forward. He's not aggressively side drafting the cars in the middle of the corner to try to help slow him down. 1 car gets loose off the exit of turn 4 as Van Hulst after getting pushed by the 4 Quarterly. Quarterly goes around. He spins in the tri-oval down into the grass, and the caution flag is out again with now our 8th caution of the race coming out. They bottlenecked on the inside after Van Hulst and Quarterly made contact, and Quarterly went spinning in the tri-oval after contact from behind. I'm not sure who it was that was behind him that made contact. No other cars involved. Looked like Jesse Love. But Love was getting pushed by Balkin on the inside. So the bump draft from Balkin on Love clipped the left rear corner panel of Quarterly and sent him around in the tri-oval. Luckily, he didn't slide back across the racetrack, and he just went down into the infield grass. No major damage on his car. 8th caution today, but we have not seen the big one. But as the laps wind down and the aggression is obviously picked up in these closing laps, what will transpire? Is this the final caution, or will we stay green to the end? Comment in the chat below what you guys think. Leaderboard needs refreshed. Oh yeah, it is. There we go. Thank you for that. That was weird how it kind of fell behind. Jason White in the lead at the time of the caution. LeVar Scott in second, so White will be the car on the inside on the restart. Scott second, and Mosak is up to 3rd. What a comeback. He was my pick to win. Just because I didn't really know too many guys in the field. He was on the pole. Joe Gibbs equipment. I was like, yeah, he'll win. Went for a spin. I might predict 2 races correct in Speed Week so far if he gets to win. This one probably the easiest race to maybe predict, although you just never know with Daytona. We have seen 8 cautions today, and he was in trouble earlier, but he has fought his way back through the pack right now. And this shouldn't be very long of cleanup, considering the fact that it was just a single car spin down on the grass. And we're probably going to have anywhere between 4 or 5 laps to go on the restart. Is this 8th caution the final one of the day? We've seen some hard impacts today, but we have not seen the big one. Mainly single car incidents all the way throughout the course of this race. A couple debris cautions. And honestly, considering the fact that we have 18 rookies in the field, to have this many cars still on the lead lap in an ARCA race, pretty impressive. 30 cars on the lead lap yet. Frankie Muniz off that restart was able to get back up to 22nd. I'm trying to think of who else was on pit road recently as well. Kitts Miller's up to 17th. So they're still kind of mired mid-pack. Christian Rose is up to 14th. Those are all drivers who have pitted within the last couple of cautions. After leading, or at least up towards the front, in some of their cases, earlier on in this race. We are 1 hour, 5 minutes approximately from the start of our NASCAR Xfinity Series race live commentary stream. Be sure to tune in for that one a little bit later on in the day, and appreciate all of you tuning into this one so far. We've had upwards of close to 100 people watching at one point in time in this race. Hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already. We have 66 likes on the stream thus far. So under caution right now. Truex to get his first super speedway win. Toyotas need more speed. I think Denny Hamlin looks pretty good. There were some people that I've seen in like comment sections of other videos like, oh, Denny's car doesn't look that great. I think he looked good. He was one of the few cars in the dual races that when they'd be single file, he'd pull out a line and be able to actually make passes for position with just minimal help behind him. So I think Denny Hamlin's got a pretty good car still. He's starting obviously deeper in the field than most of the other stronger cars who I think in this race will be, or tomorrow's race will be, but definitely going to be one to look out for. I think he's got a faster car than what most people think. Cliff Haslam, thanks for tuning in. Bubba Holcomb, welcome into the stream also. Thanks for doing these live streams for Speed Weeks. Yeah, and it's not just for Speed Weeks either. You guys will get to have live commentary streams right here on this channel all season long. They're showing Laster with the pizza helmet again. That is probably my new favorite helmet of all time now. Where is Laster? I want him to win this race now, but I don't think he's in... I mean, you're always in contention, I guess, at Daytona. He's on the lead lap. But he is in 27th. So, not looking good for Brayton Laster. Ray Denzer, thanks for tuning in. But anyway, what I was saying, live commentary all season long. Next week's races, only the Xfinity and Cup Series are racing. Xfinity race on Saturday evening at the Auto Club Speedway. Cup race on Sunday afternoon. So that'll be the live commentary races for next week. I'm not sure on the start times on either race. I think the Cup race starts at 3:30, so we'll go live for that one at 3. I go live a half hour before the actual coverage of the Cup race, but then for the lower series races, I go live basically right as the race is starting. So we have a pre-race show for the Cup side, which you'll see tomorrow for the Daytona 500. I'll give my in-depth predictions on who I think will run well, not run well, some potential underdog picks, which we obviously tend to see run well at Daytona, Talladega, and even New Atlanta. So I'll give my in-depth analysis on that, who I think is going to be a contender or pretender for tomorrow's Daytona 500. So that's why we go live early for the Cup races, but still have live commentary for the Truck and Xfinity all year. This is the only ARCA race I plan on doing all season long, but appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. Appreciate that comment, Will. They'll be getting the 1 to go signal this time by, which means we'll have 3 laps to go on the restart. And again, Jason White will be the leader on the restart on the inside lane, and LeVar Scott on the outside. One thing I have noticed with the restarts today, the inside gets the launch initially. But then by the time the field works their way off of turn 2, the outside seems to be more coordinated, and they are able to get the push to whoever leads that outside lane. They're able to get to the lead into turns 3 and 4 more often than not. Now, there has been cases where they haven't been able to clear and they've been side by side, but they've at the very least been able to pull side by side with the car that leads the inside lane. So I do like LeVar Scott's position he's going to be in on the restart. He's got some pretty good fast cars behind him. Both the cars that started on the front row of Jesse Love and Connor Mosack will be on the outside lane behind Scott. So I honestly think if we stay green to the end of this race, I think LeVar Scott is going to be really tough to beat on this restart with just 3 laps to go. But 3 laps in an ARCA race, I don't know about this one. And if I'm not mistaken, if a caution comes out on the final lap, I don't think the race is over in ARCA. I could be wrong on that, but I think from my prior knowledge that they have an ability to have a 1-lap restart. We'll know if it happens. Hopefully it doesn't. And we can stay green to the end of this race. Because, I mean, when was the last time 30-plus ARCA cars finished on the lead lap at Daytona or Talladega? I mean, this is actually pretty incredible. And it's despite the fact that we've had 8 cautions so far. But they are doubled up. About to head to the green flag. The pace car is currently pulling to pit road. Jason White, LeVar Scott on the front row, row 2's going to be Greg Van Alst, Jesse Love, Amber Bulkin, Connor Mosack in row 3. And actually, Mosack's on the inside of row 3, Bulkin on the outside. Green flag is back in the air at Daytona. Standing start, pretty even right now by both the inside and the outside lanes. Everybody staying tight, nose to tail together. A lot of bump drafting going on the inside between Van Alst and Jason White. 3 wide further back in the pack at turns 1 and 2, but that is very much at the tail end of this field. A lot more spaced apart is the top 6 right now. Big runs coming from the 7th and 8th place cars of Sean Corr and Jack Wood. Wood going to the outside, 3 wide on the run he had with Bulkin. The 20 goes up to try to block. The 6 got stalled out with that move and now has a lot of help. 3 by 3 off the exit of turn 4, coming to 2 laps to go in this ARCA Menards season opener at Daytona. And side by side to the line to lead this lap, it will be Jason White by inches over LeVar Scott. Outside lane breaking up a little bit in that 3rd lane. Just 3 cars up there right now, and that is allowing the numbers game on the bottom to be a lot more than the middle lane. Wood now moving off the top, back down into the 2nd lane behind Bulkin where he was before he tried to go 3 wide to the outside. Scott getting pushed, got a little loose off turn 2. 3 cars pushing each other at once down in the bottom lane, and that will propel Jason White to the lead into turn 3. Scott is staying in it. He's got a fast race car. Side drafts Jason White in the middle of turns 3 and 4, and they're still dead even for the lead off the exit of the corner. They'll be coming to the white flag this time by 1 lap to go. And the Daytona 200. Wood again going 3 wide to the outside. Jesse Love is going to try to hang out the 2. He goes 3 wide in front of Wood. LeVar Scott gets hung out to dry. He's in the middle with nowhere to go. Bulkin coming with a run. Jason White leads the bottom with Van Alst in 2nd place right behind him. Mosack up to 3rd. Mosack thinks about pulling out a line onto the outside. Doesn't do it yet. He is clear of Scott if he chooses to do so on the back straightaway. Field is still 3 by 3 on the back stretch right now, but pretty much from about 4th on back. Single file is the top 3 on the double yellow line. Van Alst going to the outside. The 44 does not try to block. Now he tries to block, but it's too late. Side by side for the lead off turn 4. Mosack going with the 35. Van Alst to the lead now. He clears White. White is hung out to dry. Will Mosack get a run as they come to the line? They're wrecking behind them, but it'll be Greg Van Alst winning at Daytona as they will finish under green. Greg Van Alst has won the ARCA Menards season opener at Daytona. And Mosack comes back from a spin to finish in 2nd in the late going. Mosack went with Alst, who made the move in the middle of 3 and 4 on the final lap. And Jason White, who had the lead going into turn 3, finished 9th. Nobody went with him. He got hung out to dry. By the time he thought about making the block, it was too late. And the second move he tried to make was just too late and couldn't get the job done. Greg Van Alst in the number 35 has won. And you will get to hear an interview from him as well as the other top finishers before we end this live stream. And just a reminder that the Xfinity Series race, our coverage for that will begin at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a separate stream later tonight. A big run and a big push from behind. Nice side draft on the right rear corner panel in the middle, 3 and 4. And Mosak didn't have enough of a run to try to make a move on all skidding into the tri-oval. They wrecked coming to the line further back. No big wreck, though. Just a couple of cars went spinning in the tri-oval, and they did finish this race under green miraculously. And we had 29 cars finish on the lead lap. Jesse Wilson, thanks for tuning in. Buddy R, thanks for tuning in. Here's Van Alst.
I hope he can cover all 20 sponsors in one interview.
It's going to be hard. That's going to
So good.
See that vein popping out of his head? That's awesome.
Let's get it down to
He wants that
Jamie.
flag.
Take it in, Jamie.
This is going to be a celebration you guys won't want to miss.
He said, guys like me are not supposed to be able to do this. He collects the checkered flag. I'm not sure you can put it into words, but the emotion that you're feeling right now, how much heart went into this win?
Oh, it's everything I got. It's the only speedway car we got. There's no way I was going to bring it home without the steering wheel and the trophy, and that was it. This is for all the short track racers out there that don't think you can get to this level. I've worked my ass off to get here, and we did it! Yeah!
Oh my God. I have tears in my eyes. It doesn't get better than that. What a moment. Here right now is the pass for the lead.
Great time lead. Had a little bit of help from Connor Mosak.
And here, if you're great, you're just hoping to finish this thing out. You know you made the right move. You got the right run. You stayed up front the whole race. 18 doesn't have a run. You're finishing it off. It's so special.
Greg Van Alst had to get around Jason White. Jason White ended up slipping back and finishing 9th. This was what was ensuing behind them.
Yeah, that's John Garrett, the 66.
And the finish.
Talking about Daytona and the dream of racing and dreams being made and realize that this place, that interview is everything. That interview is everything about the ARCA Menard series and why it's special to NASCAR racing in this sport and especially
people like us. I mean, you want to race in the ARCA Menard series. I want to race in the ARCA Menard series, and it was so important.
And you see the shot of his crew. It's not like Cup where those are paid crew members. Those are volunteers, his buddies, the guys who work on his short track car up in Indiana. Such a special moment.
Think they're gonna have fun tonight?
I think they're gonna have a little bit of fun. Kids, your parents are coming home tonight.
That's a cool story. I don't know too much about Greg Van Alst, but I think we've learned a little bit about him just in the last couple of minutes after he has just won the Daytona 200 for the ARCA Remax Series. Local short track racer from Indiana. Making the trip down to Daytona and gets the win on a last lap pass in turns 3 and 4. Ran a clean race. He was up towards the front all day. Really one of the last drivers that was up towards the front and had stayed there with no incidents throughout the course of this race. We'll go through the full field running order here. If we get any more interviews following the commercial break, you guys will get to listen in before we wrap this live stream up. But Greg Van Alst with the win. And we do finish this race under green on that green-white checker. 3 laps, of which 8 cautions total in today's race. Connor Mosak from the pole finishes in second after spin earlier in the grass in the second half of this one. Sean Corr ends up finishing in third after starting pretty deep in the field himself. LeVar Scott with a great run ended up in 4th place. Kind of got hung out to dry when Jack Wood tried to make a 3-wide move coming to the white flag. And unfortunately for Scott, he didn't have the momentum to stick with those cars that finished up in front of him. He was still the lead car on the outside that was trying to make the charge there at the end, but a good run. Mandy Chick ends up finishing at 5th. She was kind of running like outside the top 10 all day long, but on that last restart was able to propel herself into the top 5 with a 5th place finish. She won't give a tattoo on her rear for the win, but maybe she'll celebrate a top 5. Amber Balkan ends up finishing 6th place today. Jessie Love finishes 7th. Jack Wood 8th. Jason White 9th. And Dale Quarterly, after spinning, bringing out that last caution, still finished in 10th. So he came from the tail end of the lead lap, which would have been 28th on the restart, all the way up to 10th in those last 3 laps to get the top 10. Frankie Muniz, who had to pit during the second to last caution with damage, he ends up finishing 11th. Christian Rose led at one point at the halfway mark, finishes 12th. Steve Lewis Jr. in 13th. Natalie Decker 14th. Tony Costino finishes in 15th. Bryce Hogberg in 16th. Robbie Lyon 17th. Logan Misiraka in 18th. Jason Kitzmiller 19th. And Willie Mullins rounds out the top 10. Brian Dozit 21st. Ed Pompa 22nd. Tony Breininger in 23rd. Caleb Costner 24th. John Garrett 25th. Cage Rogers 26th. Brayton Laster, the guy with the pizza helmet, finishes 27th. And last car in the lead lap was Charles Buchanan in 28th. AJ Moyer, the only driver 1 lap down, finishes 29th. Brad Smith ends up finishing 6 laps down at 30th. And then everybody else, I think DNF'd from here on back. Miguel Gomes ends up finishing in 31st. Andy Jankowiak ends up 32nd. Tough break for him. He had a great day. Zach Heron finishes in 33rd. Eric Caudell in the 7 car finishes 34th. Gustine 35th, had an electrical issue. He was one of the favorites in the Venturini Motorsports 25 car. Tim Richmond had a hard impact earlier in the race off turn 4, finishes 36th. Ryan Huff 37th. Scott Melton hit hard also in the second caution of the day, back around lap 10. Ends up finishing in 38th. And then the number 57 car of Hunter, don't know how to say his last name. Don't feel like saying his last name, so I don't botch it again. Finishes dead last, 39th today, rounding out our 39-car field. So no more interviews, it looks like, following this ARCA race today. They did go past their scheduled airtime. They have the pre-race on for NASCAR Race Day Xfinity Series Edition right now on Fox Sports 1. They will cover the Xfinity Series race later on at the top of the next hour, and we will do the same right here on the channel, so you won't want to miss it. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already, and we will be live at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for live commentary of today's Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 Xfinity Series season opener at Daytona. Speed Week's coverage continues. Appreciate the support as always. Appreciate you guys tuning in here for this ARCA race this afternoon. And I will see you guys later on in less than an hour at this point. So see you guys in a little bit, everybody. Have a good one.